Should we say anything funny before the theme song?
Well, now you've basically ruined any chance of me actually trying to come up with being able to come up with something funny because I'm on the spot.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't be funny on this one.
Yeah, well, it's not a particularly funny episode, and I think it certainly covers a lot of stuff that's very confronting in the modern day. Doesn't have the it's all is it too real, I guess is the question.
I was wondering why I was having trouble like watching it again and thinking about talking about it. It's because it's not as fun as the other episodes. Even when they're heavy, there's still like fun, wacky stuff going on. But this is not like that. Kind of like
Well, they hit
73 yards in that way.
which 73 yards is my favorite episode from last season, but I think it's that whole thing of I didn't know what was going on, and I like it when the writers can trick me.
Yeah.
That always makes me really happy when it's I just don't know what's happening and I can't come up with a theory for it. So that always impresses me. So yeah, 73 yards is my favorite for last season. I don't think I could. This one will fall into the favorite category or the watching before bed category. I think it conjures too many problematic images. You have nightmares. What if you watched it before bed?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, 73 yards did have a right wing politician threatening us all with death, but like
Ruby took him down though. Like Ruby got
Ruby
him.
took him down. There was a happy. This one even ends on a sort of somber note.
It does, and I think it's not the last we're going to see of Conrad.
Well, that much is clear, yeah. I don't think we'll ever see the chick from Dot and Bubble again, but we'll probably see Conrad again. To me, that was the
Oh,
closest episode in terms of like punch at the end that you can't do anything about.
last week's was pretty punchy. Like you realizing that it made it onto the ship.
Oh, I mean in terms of like real world issues that
Oh yeah,
are never going away seemingly.
yeah. It's absolutely had the um, it's it's almost too close to home. Like it makes for it to be for the episode to be relaxing to watch.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's not a neat little
absolutely,
murder mystery with a giant wasp, for example.
oh, Unicorn and the Wasp is fantastic. You could just absolutely
Yeah.
you can jump back in at that any time. It hits all the beats you want it to be, like you want it to hit. Um, but I think there is a lot of like predictive stuff in previous episodes. As I was saying, I was messaging you last night about I was watching The Long Day, and it is more prophetic today than it was in 2005 with the blindness of humanity to whatever media, like just accepting and chewing down whatever the echo chamber they're surrounded by. Speech Simon Pegg gives in that kind of hits with a bit more of a cold chill than it did in 2005.
That was the one about the space station that tells the news.
Yeah, they decide what the news is, and they're manipulating humanity into basically believing whatever they want to believe by absolutely by sending that messaging through the info spikes.
Oh, like that thing Adam put in his head.
Yeah, the chip.
Man, I haven't
We're
seen that one
talking
in quite a while.
one I frequently skip, but it was just very revealing watching it last night. Going, huh, this makes me a lot more uncomfortable in the modern day because it's kind of what I think some certainly like media magnates have achieved. I said to you that I thought could the Jagrafest be Trump, but I actually think it's Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah, that sounds like who would have been top of mind during that time. Um, we didn't really have social media billionaires back then.
No, no, we didn't.
We have the social media monster slashing jobs in our country for no reason.
I mean, Rupert Murdoch's Australian. Like he's been restricting and manipulating Australians' media and what kind of information and in what way it's presented. Back when there was only you could only access the paper, and the TV, and he owned all of that. So I think we've had that kind of restriction around us for a lot longer, and it wasn't until I travelled that I was like, this is what it's like in a world where when the media is not entirely controlled by one evil man.
Yeah, is there any push to break up his control,
No,
like through
that's the
government
thing.
action?
Well, because he can like it's been there was a point where he could basically kind of dictate, and it's been seen like they did all these dramatized stories about the media wars in Australia between the Murdochs and the Packer family, who owned the only other option, and they're all just evil rich guys. But there's a scene where Rupert Murdoch says, "I want my own pet prime minister," and so he manipulates. And they show it manipulating the messaging um, through the media to get the party and the person that he wanted elected. I think he doesn't have as much power because of social media. Ironically, it's the social media that's giving Australians more access to more varied opinions and information.
Yeah, it can do that if you want to get outside the frame. So many people in this country don't even realize that we are dominated by propaganda. Not government sponsored, but
Mm.
corporate funded, like just same old nonsense.
It's like that South Park episode where Jimmy's the only one who can tell what's an ad and what's not an ad because it's so seamlessly meshed together of what advertise like where is advertising.
Weird.
Is this interview that you're doing an ad, or is it a real conversation, I guess? Or is there an agenda to get certain things pushed? Because there was a lot of rules, used to be rules around things like that, but I think that's all out the window with the wild, wild west of the internet.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is going to be a depressing episode.
Well,
Hopefully
yeah. I
not.
mean, how could it not be? Like, I remember when we're sitting in the kitchen, and my dad turns to me and he says, "Well, that'll be the end of democracy eventually." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Well, Clinton just signed the Telecommunications Act of 1996 or whatever, 90 something." And I I think I was like a freshman in college or something. I had no idea what was going on. But sure enough, it was like kind of the biggest slashing of regulations that led to all manner of horrors. I don't know how much you know
I
about our
nothing on this one.
system, but there used to be rules about, like, if you air right wing opinions, you have to air left wing opinions. There used to be rules about how you can, how much you can influence public broadcasting, how much news you have to run, um, and so much of that was taken away by Clinton and Bush that now it's super easy to dominate our media here.
I knew nothing about that. That's really interesting because obviously that's kind of led to the current. Because I've been hearing about the current situation where if you basically got a differing opinion, get ejected from the press corps. Is that right? Is that the thing that's happening? Is I thought I read.
I have not been as well read on the news in a while, so
Fair.
I would only be speculating. Um, it's always been the prerogative of the White House to say, like, who can be in that room, but
Mm,
they never really used that prerogative. Usually they'd lean on the publisher or the head of the network to replace you with someone, you being the reporter.
yeah. There you go.
But there are certain opinions that you're just not allowed to express at the highest levels here. You can't say anything about the occupation of Palestine unless it's, you know, beat Hamas, free the hostages. There's just certain things like that that if you want to get in those rooms, you can't discuss.
Yeah. Wow. Like, which is kind of the for a country for a country that's so big on its freedom of speech. That's so interesting.
I
We don't
just
have
think
freedom
that's
of speech here as a right. It is not constitutionalized. There's no legal freedom of speech in Australia. Um, but we had multiple like Palestine was a topic at this recent election. Like there was absolutely influences of votes based on where a particular politician stood on that. And I know a lot of people, like the socialists I campaigned with, just about everyone at the party afterwards was wearing keffiyehs and showing solidarity to Palestine. But it was I've never seen an international thing so heavily, except for maybe the war in Iraq, like the second Gulf War.
yeah, there was a time here where it was actually a badge of honor if you had voted against the if the politician had voted against the war at any point, defunded it at any point. But that probably doesn't matter anymore. This
Mm,
last election, this presidential election, so many of us either didn't vote or voted for a third party because Kamala Harris and pretty much almost every Democrat at a national level was just was saying all sorts of bullshit, but clearly didn't give two shits about the Palestinians,
yeah,
and it was obvious and everybody knew it, and now people that are have sour grapes try to come after us, and we're like, look, we're realists, you know. If people tell you months after month after year that you have to do something differently and you still don't do it or even explain why you're not doing it but lie instead, like,
yeah.
it's your fault, it's not our fault, you know. It's the
No,
politicians.
totally.
They're our employees, right? They should reflect what we want out of them, not pretend it doesn't exist.
Absolutely. I'm always really torn on the compulsory voting thing because we have compulsory voting down here. You have to. You will get
Yeah.
fined if you do. Actually, it's not compulsory to vote. It's compulsory to get your name ticked off the electoral roll.
So you just walk in and walk out.
You can absolutely do that. Some people do what's called a donkey vote, which is anything that's a non-conforming vote, and you can draw a dick on the paper. You can do whatever. And that is a common thing that people do. Draw a dick on the paper, not gonna lie. All you have to do is get your name ticked off, and then as long as you attended or sent in a postal vote, you're good as far as fines go. But I do think sometimes it results in people who are very uninformed making a decision based on media hype or fear campaigns or just incorrect information. But I was like, there's something about having to motivate people to actually come out and vote. But then if you don't, then you look at what you only get people with extreme views coming out to vote.
Yeah, I mean, that would be nice if extreme leftists got anywhere in this country. Instead, the neoliberals and the conservatives try to keep voting down, like by dumbing down the viewer, like annoying them with negative ads and never taking really strong positions on anything. Um, so it's very milk toast and bland, and it's hard to decide between. Like, it's easy to say Republican Party bad, but it's hard to look at just some rando and be like, well, is he really worse than whoever we have here? I would say yes. Like,
Mm.
they're they're almost always shitty. But the ordinary low information voter, how do they decide? Oh, I like his haircut, or like he was
Yeah, who's
nice
got a
to me
blue
at a
tie, who's got
farmer's
a red
market.
tie?
Yeah, it's
I think the nicety at a farmer's market is valid, though. What we're seeing over here is a big push to independence, and the independents are running against these major parties, but they're running in their loop of like they're actually kind of like they're campaigning to the local people,
oh
and
right.
so they feel like rather than someone who's going to toe the party line at every opportunity, they're electing independent people who aren't party affiliated because they're going to be the ones working in their area and they want a voice for their area, which is how our system works with the electorates, right? We every area in you elect someone from your local area, and they take up a seat, and then to get them to form government, you have to have a majority of seats from a party. And so we're seeing this because people like I want someone who represents me and my local community to have say in lawmaking, which is arguably how the system should work. And when you get caught up in two party politics, it's too much towing the line and people not being voting and legislating with their own personal ethics as opposed to um yeah as opposed to voting I guess for the whatever the party says.
Do you know how many people each region represents? Each position in parliament?
They change, it chops and changes. So we've got two houses. We've got the House of Representatives, which is the lower house, which is the house that forms government, and then you've got the Senate, which is the House of Review. So there's I think it's 12 senators from each state and maybe a lesser number from each territory. Um, but it's also based on population. Whereas each area, your electorate, if it's an inner city electorate, it's going to have more people. You do get some electorates that are, only a few thousand people that are.
Oh wow.
So it can chop and change. It's kind of based on because Australia's got so much space that's empty. Like we're, big continent like you guys, but you guys have filled it up a lot more. We've just got lots of desert
Yes.
and
Yeah.
some big hubs. and so it creates this really, really diverse voting. Up north in Queensland, there's a guy called Bob Catter who is batshit crazy. One of his arguments, I think it was against, it was there was some, it was either the vote for Indigenous representation in Parliament for the voice, or it was for the gay marriage debate. And he's like, "Why do I care about this when 8 Australians every year are eaten by crocodiles?" And he wears a big Cobra hat, which is kind of like a cowboy hat, and it's just he's crazy, but they love him.
Oh
In far north
no.
Queensland, where it's all kind of uh, super isolated, super regional farming. Whereas down here, where I'm a bit of a lefty utopia down here. So my electorate came down to a fight between Labor and the Greens. So arguably two left wing parties. And it's been safe Labor forever. But the Greens are coming at them and they're getting closer and closer every time. My candidate that I campaigned for went from a 3.9% of the vote in 2022 to 8.2. I'm
That
so
is
proud.
shocking. Wow.
That is a socialist candidate
Yeah.
campaigning on a socialist ticket, but she's my local councillor. So
That's
everyone in the
awesome.
community knows her. That was my biggest kind of how I got people to stop and pay attention. Was, do you know her? Do you know the amazing work she does in the community? Here's some examples of things she's done as a councillor in this community. And it's that people like to see someone who they feel like is representing and working for them, no matter the
Oh
banner.
yeah.
Like the same logic applies there. It's just very different people in the two electorates between like Bob Catter and I'll send you some videos of him. He's
Oh
bonkers. It's
no. Wow.
hilarious.
Well, so in this country, for some reason, they capped the number of representatives we can have at
Mm.
some point. It started out like 33,000 per representative, and now it's 700,000. So, like, forget about meeting them at a farmer's market. You could barely see them across a stadium. Like, they're completely remote. Uh, Yeah, they spend a ton of time in other parts of the country fundraising. Uh, so yeah, it's hard to have a personal relationship with anybody.
Which I mean, we've had areas of that as well. I think it's just reflective of public opinion that we're seeing more of this, and you do see these independents having huge success because they've
Oh,
just really campaigned on a grassroots level. Like I've met most of the candidates for my electorate just at the train station. They're
wow.
often just there chatting to people about this, that, and the other. And even the polling booth I was campaigning at, just a primary school, we had at least three of the representatives for the area turn up on election day.
Wow.
Candidate I'm involved with, I met her at a protest rally.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I think we have that kind of access that you guys probably don't.
It's just shocking that you seem to have a more freewheeling sort of political life than we might. But your papers and your TV are so controlled.
Well, I don't think it's been like I don't think it's always been like that. Like it used to just kind of be the opinion you either voted LNP, which is the Liberal National Coalition. Now, don't get confused. When we say Liberal Party over here, they're the Conservatives. That's
Wonderful.
just to make things really complex. And then you've got Labor, who was supposedly the left wing party, and they used to be the left wing party, but their politics through infighting has made them move more centrist. So now you've got the Greens and you've got what they're calling teal independents, and the teal independents are the ones who are kind of campaigning on a grassroots level with really positive climate, like really wanting action on climate and things like that, but still having like more. perhaps economically conservative takes. So, but it's just more recent. Like it used to just be you picked the red team or the blue team. Same thing.
Mm.
And then if you pick the green team like I did, you'd get shit on. But now, because the Senate, that's to pass law, you've got to have it passed in the House of Representatives, which you should have a majority into. You have to have a majority to form government. But then that has to go through the House Senate, which is considered the House of Review. And so the good thing is when you've got lots of different voices in the Senate, and neither the two majors has a majority, it really means that legislation is stringently reviewed and
Mm.
it's put through a lot of different lenses. Like the exciting thing this year for us is the Greens have gained a bunch of new senators in the Senate, which means that no one's going to be able to pass law easily without it being, given a good once over by the more left leaning Progressive Party.
Yeah, someone who gives a damn. Our
Yeah, what a
neoliberal
concept.
Democrats, they just can't seem to be bothered to fight for anything.
No,
It's pretty
it,
frustrating.
yeah, and it's funny because people get really like sensitive on like single issue things as well. Like um, I know a lot of people who talk to me about why they didn't vote Greens. And it always seemed to be like one issue, even though they're like, oh, by and large, I agree with most of their policies. Things like dental into Medicare, which is our government health system, but it doesn't cover teeth and barely covers mental health. Um, yeah, good luck getting a diagnosis for ADHD or autism without at least couple of $1,000s.
Jesus Christ.
But so the Greens were like one of their big platforms this election was get dental into Medicare. So we are pretty lucky. Like even though we do have little gap payments and stuff to pay, it's nothing compared to the convoluted system you guys have got.
Oh, it's barely a system. It doesn't even deserve the name. It's just a giant clusterfuck of epic proportions. I was just
Mm,
complaining about it with this lady I'm talking to. Ugh.
no, the what a I just can't understand people not wanting basic like things like universal basic income, healthcare, and
Yeah.
education for all.
Yeah. Make your citizens happier, not desperate and like frightened all the time.
Um,
But for neoliberals, it's it's like a cap. What is a? It's not a release valve. It's like putting a cap on something so it can't get out. It's like austerity serves their purposes because we're less likely to fight them. It's paradoxical almost. The societies that are more revolutionary or engaged are often societies where the middle class is stronger and like the economy is doing better. It's very weird. It's like how in this country the GDP goes up as our medical bills skyrocket. So it's like
mm,
the stock market goes up when unemployment is high. Like it doesn't make any sense to what you'd want a healthy economy to do. It's all
no, it
backasseries.
doesn't. Yeah.
We have a surplus of medical like transcriptionists and bill paying people and insurance reviewers, but we don't have enough doctors and nurses. Like to get like people can't get a GP, so they have to go to the ER. Like it's ugh.
Which then blocks up the ER for actual emergencies and
Yeah. Yeah. It's a nightmare. So this is the soup that we're swimming in as we come
mm,
to the seminal Doctor Who Dis episode, Lucky Day, season 2, episode 4. This is a big one.
That was a lot. It's a lot to unpack. I think it's harder to enjoy when it's so serious and so relevant to the modern day. Um,
Yes.
I can appreciate it. I think it was like intellectually, I'm like, that was a very good episode of television. Um, but it did make me sad.
Yeah, understandable. I mean, yeah, the doctor gets kind of a speech at the end where he's like, "You're a bunch of cowards. You know, you twist the truth to be indistinguishable from lies," and like, and the guy's like, "What is this? An intervention?" And it's like,
Mm,
I wish that would work, but that won't
yeah.
work. We just have to live with you people.
Well, and he had it proven to him over and over and over again, and then you'd think, oh, here he's finally getting it, penny's dropping, and then he'd just smile and be like, nah, but that's a pretty good costume, like what even was that? And just continue to deny something just been given irrefutable proof of. Like,
Yeah.
it's terrifying.
Oh, I have some bad news. I hate to do this, but the problem was not with your headphones because it's happened a couple times since we started where like you'll start talking and it sounds far away and then
Wonder is it Zoom then?
it's got to be Zoom. It's got to be something going on with Zoom or your headphone jack. But no, I think your other headphones were Bluetooth.
Yeah, my other headphones are Bluetooth, so it's not the headphone jack.
Weird.
That is really bizarre.
Huh. Maybe it's time for a reinstall.
Yeah, I mean,
Sometimes
this
it
is a
helps
new
to.
computer.
Oh yeah. Weird. Huh. Maybe we'll
I'll
rattle
check
off a
for
little
it.
message to Zoom customer support.
Yeah, like this is a problem.
But it's only been a couple times in the course of 30 minutes, so we should be fine.
And I think you said last time it was okay on my recording, like with the track I recorded.
Yes, I
It
think you're
only
right.
happened kind of once on the track I recorded, which I think was a separate issue because I think that was an
Yeah.
Audacity issue because I noticed it
Okay,
that
cool.
one time. So I reckon if it's Zoom, so hopefully as long as my audio track's good,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
should be good.
Cool.
Because yeah, I think I remember you said the audio track that I sent through last time was all good.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, it was.
This is why we do it, right? This is why I record one on my end as well.
Yeah.
Insight into podcasting.
So it starts out, it's New Year's Eve. There's fireworks blasting. It's hard to know at first what time period this is because fireworks they look the same mostly. This old kind of municipal looking building with a fire escape.
I love the moment when the doctor pops out. Certainly conjured an image for me of who you gonna call with the vindicator in his hand. Like,
I got a sense. I don't know if it's the shape of this alley or what, but I got a sense of vampires in Venice. Something about where they
mm,
parked the thing. No vampires in this one.
there weren't any vampires in Venice either. Spoilers.
That's a good point. Oh shit. So the doc, let's see, he's got his vindicator. Belinda's scarf,
Oh,
absolutely everything. I must have one.
I of course am. I think I mentioned the fashion every week, but what I've noticed is a pattern of their outfits matching.
Yeah, he's got sort of an abstract tartan going, like
Yeah,
with
it's
big
like a
squares.
tweed, like a
A
plaid
tweed. Okay.
tweed, I would call that. And she's got brown tones, like, and my other observation was that each episode this season has had its own individual color palette.
Yeah.
Like
Interesting.
Robot Revolution, I think, was lots of reds but mixed with like whites and light blues. Lux was all pastels and lots of lovely pastel yellows and blues and things like that. Last week was all dark blues, navies, blacks, and browns, whereas this is kind of autumn tones. Lots of
Yeah.
earthy green, lots of brown. Even Kate Lethbridge Stewart, her jumper was a nice earthy green, whereas both Belinda and the Doctor were wearing very brown earthy tones. So I'm just really loving whoever the art director is on this series for creating something just so beautiful.
Yeah, there's got to be an overarching artistic director, yeah?
Yeah, usually there is. They kind of like oversee things like sets, costumes, all of that to make sure it all meshes in because you can't have your set team running off and doing something and then the costume team putting them in an outfit that doesn't fit with the set design and the set imagery. So you would have the art director who would be there to oversee everything, make
Yeah.
sure it's all.
Well, Peter Hoare, the director, has done a lot of great stuff. The one that stands out for me is Altered Carbon. He did a couple episodes there. That show
I
is sumptuously directed. Um, art direction, costume, all that stuff.
Has he
But
done
yeah,
other episodes of Doctor Who?
he has. Well, I'm saying that, but now that I think of it, he did Robot Revolution or the Robot Revolution.
Uh, I'm just looking at him now. He did It's a Sin, so he would have worked with Russell there,
Mm-hmm.
which is beautifully directed, stunning.
Oh, nice.
The Umbrella Academy,
I've never
which is
seen
very
that
good. The
one.
Last of Us. So he's got some big Nolly, which was another Russell T Davies with Helena Bonham Carter. That was visually stunning. That show. So he's got a good resume. Yeah, impressive. But I particularly, yeah, I thought this was beautifully done. This whole season's been beautifully done.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So we're moving.
So
We
I'm
get to the big moment. I think, really, like where Conrad the child turns up
yes, yep. The doctor gives him 50p and he runs off.
after snatching it quite rudely. I on my second watch through, I was like, is this indicative of his character that he just snatched it and ran off?
When I first watched it, I thought, "Oh, this kid must not have a lot. Maybe he's got a difficult upbringing, so he's got to grab what he can." But the second time around, I'm like, was this kid always a bastard?
I think so, and I think we got those tells in the Robot Revolution as well with Alan. Those little hints that were dropped early. Another connection with the Robot Revolution as well. The time jump was the same, 17 years.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I picked that up and I was like, I wonder what is the difference between modern and 17 years. So
I love
does
the
it
way the
relate?
doctor says, "It is your lucky day." It's very Matt Smithy
Mm,
there.
very. And we get the voiceover, which I've seen a lot of people doing. Going, is this just going to be another Love and Monsters?
Mm.
Or
new.
no, indeed. That very, very different. There's also a Torchwood episode that's similar with a guy who dies and he doesn't realize he's dead, and he's been trying to talk to Torchwood about this alien eye that he's got, and it's he's following Gwen around with and it's that same voiceover, and we're seeing characters we know well from the perspective of someone who's just randomly kind of come across them or met the Doctor at one point or another.
Yeah, this. So I think the thing that caused me the biggest amount of agita on this, and a lot of people, has been that guys like this don't hide it really anymore. They
Mm.
It's pretty easy to find out what their politics are. Like people pretty much say what they think these days. And so the fact that Ruby fell for him is unlikely.
Well,
Unless unless we accept that one, we have to tell a story, like otherwise it wouldn't be on TV. But also
mm,
two, she's young enough that we can kind of get away with the young people are more reckless or less careful.
yeah,
But
but
he really comes
did she
across
listen to the podcast before she went on it? Just saying.
clearly not, unless he keeps all that shit on the down low and he's a spy. But spies don't like yank the mask off and like say, "Hey, I'm a spy." Like you're one or the other, right? You're either a podcaster that talks about conspiracy theories, or you're, a spy trying to slip in.
Well, maybe he's both, because the thing I picked up on the second watch was that he'd interviewed at Unit 8 years prior. So maybe this was a long game for him to try and expose Unit, and wasn't going and use, without kind of making himself public as a, what do we call it, an anti-unitist, like an anti-vaxxer. Was he like a unit truther, a
A
unit
unit
truther?
truther. And so
Yeah.
that suggests that he has his podcast crew that are all like open, normal people. And then he's got his small town scumbag friends that are part of his like right wing group.
Yeah, because otherwise, why would Ruby have agreed to go on it? Like, you just
It just wouldn't
don't.
happen. Not in this day and age. Like we vet people that we go on their shows and stuff, or at least we should.
I listened to your podcast before I came on.
It's a good idea. Like you don't want to fire something up and find out you're hanging out with somebody whose politics and values you abhor. I don't think that's ever happened to me. I don't know. But here's the thing though. We know that Ruby was able to infiltrate App Williams' team in that alternate reality, whatever that was.
True.
So she must be able to at least fake being fine with right wingers.
Well, she didn't do that. She was a bit older when she did that as well.
Yeah.
Like, she's older than even though this is a year or so on from when she was with the Doctor. That really covered a huge span of Ruby's life, and I don't know whether she started infiltrating until she was like at least 25 or something, maybe.
So maybe we just have to accept that Ruby Sunday is apolitical. She's out of that whole thing, isn't looking for it. She's a musician. But it's hard to imagine
Mm.
that somebody that rolls with the Doctor wouldn't care about like some of the crazy stuff right wingers get up to. But yeah, it sounds like he was a spy because Unit never flagged him to Ruby. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, they sent her there with the antidote because the shriek. Like
Right. She never would
that's
have
why
dated
she went
him
there.
if they had warned her. Although sometimes we date people we shouldn't, even though people warn us not to. But we didn't get that scene.
Yeah, we've all made that mistake in the past.
Okay. Well, that was my main beef, so now we can get more into the nuts and bolts here. Did Conrad get hit by his mother?
Ooh.
Did that happen?
I got the impression they like his life wasn't particularly happy or great.
No, not if your mom's hitting you in the head. Jesus.
I was gonna say it's a different time, but it was 2007, so
That was not very
surely we
long
weren't
ago.
hitting, just 18 years. But we weren't hitting kids then, right? I mean, I absolutely copped one um if it was deemed that I did something wrong and I knew better when I was young. But that was the 90s. That's the whole.
Yeah, I remember in the 2000s, my wife at the time and I were at family dinner, and father-in-law, like, were we married yet? I don't, doesn't matter. Bonked one of his kids upside the head for something trivial, and I just like eyes wide looked at him. I looked at my wife, and like I was like, "Are we gonna have to leave?" We made it very clear that we were not having that shit, and it never happened again. So
Well, in front of you.
right, of course, um, but he's so like he's posh. Like he seems like his clothes are fancy. He's got a fancy haircut. He's got a fancy backpack. Like clearly he's not from the streets. He's more or less at Ruby's, well, maybe slightly above Ruby's class level.
Yeah, he.
Not that rich people can't have abusive parents, but it's just an interesting dynamic, I guess, is my.
I did find it weird that Ruby's completely. It just bugged me. That she says she lives in Notting Hill, and I always thought that was a posh area.
Apparently, Granny Cherry has rent control, which is the only way they would be allowed to live there. And it's why mom
Interesting.
and her moved from Manchester to live with her.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
But even so,
Like Notting Hill's a pretty posh area.
it's, yeah, she's probably one of the last people that would apply to.
Yeah.
We
I,
don't have rent control in my state.
I don't. Yeah, that's just not a thing here.
Oh,
You
okay. So
pay
there are
what?
just some neighborhoods that you'd never be able to live in.
Because there's like is it like a cap on how much you can charge for rent in that property, or I don't really. It's not something we have.
Yeah. I don't know when it starts. Like if you've been there 1 year or 5 or 20 or whatever. I don't know if you have to be in poverty to get. I don't know because we don't have it here. So they have it in New York City.
That's the only time I've ever heard rent control referenced was watching TV shows set in New York.
Yeah.
Like the reason the girls in Friends can afford that ridiculous apartment is because that's a whole storyline. Because Monica's grandmother, and she's the one with the rent control
Yeah.
arrangement, and so they nearly get kicked out a couple of times because of that.
Did one of them have to dress up like an old lady? Put on
Not
prosthetics?
not that far, but Joey did have to do dance practice with the maintenance man so he wouldn't dob them in.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
That's fun. All right, so we do a time jump in 2025. Conrad's grown up and he's interviewing Ruby Sunday. Once again, the incredible title sequence. This one's written by Pete Mittag, who wrote Kerblam and Praxius. Um, Both kind of had interesting things to say, but both sort of didn't stick the landing. I don't think
I think there was
Kerblam could
problems
have
with the
been about.
structure.
Yeah, Kerblam could have been about how impersonal and oppressive the big box retailer is to work for. But instead, they made one of the workers the bomber. So it
Mm.
sort of muddied things up. Praxius was about how plastic is bad, but like, I don't know, it didn't really come across that great either. Whereas
I
this one, I
remember
feel
being
like
confused
hangs
by that.
together. Yeah, I feel like this one really hangs together. It makes sense throughout.
Quick question: do you watch the credits in full every time?
I usually try to watch them if it's my first time watching it that day. But if I'm like
Mm.
binging, I might skip. But yeah, I try to. It puts you in the mood, gets your heart going.
Oh, I absolutely. I. It's also if I'm watching it by myself or with others as well. If I'm watching with others, I was watching with my friend last night, and I was like, let the credits play. It's part of the moment. It's part of the
Yeah,
experience. Also, the music makes me happy. It's my ringtone. Like
nice. Hell yeah. This particular one, or like just the song
the
in
one
general?
from the Tenant era, which can be a bit annoying because that's the main era I watch to go to sleep. So if it leaves playing often when the credits start playing, it wakes me back up because I think my phone's ringing.
Oh my god, that's fun.
But I'm still
Uh,
too stubborn to change it. I like that my phone rings the Doctor Who theme. We used to do the Antiques Roadshow theme.
That's wild. So, Colin sees the blue box. He hears a creature roaring, and he goes into this shutdown store with mannequins covered in plastic. Were you
Mm,
thinking we were getting some Aton shit in this one?
I have in my notes here Cybermen, Autons, Angels, and there are points in that scene that each of them are conjured because
Oh,
the big sheets of plastic reminds me very much of like the Army of the Ghosts
Army of Ghosts
time of
with
Army of Ghosts with
the
when the
cousin to Martha.
Martha's cousin going to have a little cheeky snog with her co-worker, and then the Cyberman appears. I got an image of that, and then obviously they were mannequins, so I wrote Autons. But also, there's a point where you just see one arm out like this, and plastic sheet over it, and you think that could be an angel under there as well. Like
Oh my god.
it really could have if you when you don't know that could any of
I
those
see it.
things.
Oh, I've got it running.
Yeah,
Scary.
yes, I absolutely was like, oh, we're getting Autons again. We haven't had them in a while, not since Rory, I think, as the Rory as the Roman.
Good old Rory. So this creature is clearly messing with him. It dumps some green jizz on his neck.
Second thing that I could link to Ghostbusters, like the Doctor coming out with his "Who you gonna call" energy, and now he slimed me.
Please tell me it wasn't just peed on
No,
me.
no, 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 no. Don't worry. It's more like vomit.
And it looked
Hilarious.
gross. And did you notice it disappears? Like
No.
once you hear the Doctor explaining to Ruby that it absorbs into the skin, and that's what marks the freak's next prey. By the time we hear the Doctor giving that explanation, there is no longer any green whatsoever on Conrad. So
Wow.
it was very good show don't tell. I think because you had the Doctor explaining it just a little bit in the context to Ruby, but then you're like, oh, it's happening to him. Okay, this is going to come like by having him watching from like from his little hiding spot,
Yeah.
watching the Doctor and Ruby. It really kind of shows. I like that better than because the Doctor, who is definitely guilty of some excessive exposition in just massive info dumps. in a
Mm-hmm.
monologue, particularly in the Chibnall era, unfortunately. But I thought that was really good. Let's get the message across in fewer words. They will
Yeah.
understand it.
I love the Shriek's icky fingers. They're very like, I don't know, spooky witch kind of thing.
When it comes back out at the end, we
Oh,
do kind
so
of
scary.
the hand just kind of comes around the edge of the thing and it conjures images like I guess the raptors in Jurassic Park or
Oh.
lots of and part of me, the cynic in me, is like they just did that shot for the trailer. That's a really cool shot to just drop into a no context trailer like this year on Doctor Who, um, to
I mean,
set the fandom off.
yeah. I mean, this episode is so beautifully shot with all the reflective surfaces and everything that I bet there's a ton of trailer fodder in this one.
And because there's a lot of like majority of it because it's Doctor Light. There's heaps they can pull out of it that's not gonna
Yeah. You don't have to
have.
hit all the same exact beats, which can kind of, yeah,
Mm,
interesting. Let's see. Upstairs, some noises are happening. We see a mannequin looming. The thing shows itself, and it's got these red eyes that you can see like all the way across the shot. Very scary. Doc and Rube show up. She's like, "Oh, it peed on me," and he's like, "It's more like vomit."
and then he's got the antidote and I taste like fairy floss.
Candy
And he
floss.
was
That's for Americans. That's cotton candy.
oh so I guess British call it candy floss. You guys call it cotton candy. We call it fairy floss.
Whoa, that's interesting.
I love that kind of different. What do we call different things in different countries? I love that stuff.
Hell yeah.
I
So it
didn't realize
marks
the
you as
British had their own one though. Anyway, go on.
so it marks you as future prey. So he whips out the antidote, gives her that. He tells her it'll taste good. It tastes terrible. But an important detail, it makes you sleepy. So she's got to go back to the TARDIS. And as they're leaving, Colin snaps a pic of Ruby.
He does. I liked also that they threw in the Beatles for context as they're getting back in the TARDIS.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
half an hour ago we were hanging out with the Beatles. I miss them. Um,
Yeah,
and I think
places it
that
in time.
so where we know where it was in the Doctor and Ruby's adventure, which I think is important.
Absolutely. Yeah. What is it?
But I did.
Summertime for her? It was like 6 months after Christmas.
She does mention Christmas just gone as well.
Yeah.
So, but I can't remember that. That's in my notes, so I can't remember whether she said that on the podcast or whether she said that back in time. I was trying to kind of place it because she says she's 20. I think she was 18 at the point of the goblins.
I thought she was 19.
I don't know why, I've just thought she was 18. Rose was
Her
19.
birthday had just happened. She just turned 19 like
That's right, because her birthday's
a week or
Christmas.
two earlier. Yeah.
Mm, good point, good point. But I didn't
Right?
notice him taking the picture of Ruby either.
Oh, really? Yeah, he just takes a quick snap and then tucks back into his hidey hole. Ruby doesn't see him, but she kind of lingers, and then Colin watches the box vanish. She says, "Oh, and John Lennon owes me a piano lesson."
Love that.
I like the idea that they would go back and hang out with John Lennon in between episodes of the television show.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing with Clara and constantly referencing having an affair with Jane Austen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they have this ongoing flirtation. We never see her meet Jane Austen, or the fact that when they needed to in Rosa, when they needed to get the bus driver to be on his route, the right bus driver, so they gave the other guy tickets to Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
And Joe's like, "Oh, I'm so glad Elvis gave him the phone."
Oh, yes. I love the adventures they have when we're not around. They're so much more peaceful.
Sometimes we get to see them as well. Like, how many times did they reference Queen Elizabeth I, leaving her waiting in a grove somewhere? The fact that the doctor married her. All of those little, like, she's. The doctor references, like, the good Queen Bess, no longer the Virgin Queen. I just got a text from my friend who's listening to our episode on The Well. And he's like, I can't believe you did a whole episode on horror. And nobody said, "Are you my mummy?" And I'm like, listen again, Jeff says it.
Also, you mentioned Empty
The
Child.
episode.
Oh, you just wanted the catchprise.
Yeah, he wanted the cash, and you did say it, I
I
remember.
do, yeah. Well, you
Yeah,
mama
so
me.
he thought he had me. He literally got, that was the reply text. He said, "Boo, I thought I got you." He's my trivia competitive buddy. We've both been on a couple. He went on one of the shows I went on a year later.
Oh, that's great.
So we he loved being if he can ever get me with Doctor Who, he's always trying to get me with Doctor Who trivia and never does.
That's lovely.
Just give up on that one. Get me at other stuff. There's plenty of holes in my knowledge. Just gotta find them.
I reached out to some people about maybe guesting about Star Trek, but I haven't gotten up the nerve yet to ask the Doctor Who people. I've just sort of been seeding the ground with like, this thing exists.
Yeah, we've got that really, like, you got that positive response from the flat through entirety, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Get back into it.
Yeah, 104.45. Here we go. Yeah, we're at the podcast. Ruby meets Conrad. He asks about the doctor. Oh, he says he looked for Ruby for about a year. And he asks her about the doctor. She's like, I can't really go into specifics. And then he spills tea all over everything. Knowing what we know now, was this a calculated move to seem more approachable on his part?
I think he was absolutely on a mission. Like, it gets presented to us initially, and certainly when I was watching it the first time, I was like, "Oh, this is such a meet cute. I love it." We are so suckered in. Like, you just think, "Oh, he's a bit awkward." We've all got the memories of Love and Monsters and the kind of weird vibe with Jackie and Elton, and I think that it's like, okay, great. We want to hear. We want to hear a companion's doing well. We want to hear a companion's happy. We don't want, not spending the rest of their life obsessing about the doctor, as we've seen so many times with other companions when we have revisited them. It's really, we all kind of want to see her happy and getting on with her life and being with someone who appreciates her and who she can share her stories with, that isn't going to think she's crazy, ironically. She says, all my friends think I'm crazy, I can't talk about this stuff. Rather than being able to talk, she seems really relieved that she can talk about it with him. And we want that for her.
God damn it. How could you hurt my rubes this way? Oh,
I know,
poor
so
Ruby.
mad.
So, yeah, when I first watched it, I was thinking, like, this guy's a real genuine good fella. Like, he comes across, I'm suspicious because we're in a Doctor Who episode, but he seems
Of
like
course.
kind, like it's very hard to fake that kind of thing. People are often seem dead behind the eyes, so they kind of like try to overcompensate by being extra like positive and generous and like all the outward symbols of care, but like if you're looking closely you can be like, well, they're kind of just faking it. Whereas this guy, it seemed genuine. So either the actor is just a good actor at being like in the moment, but in canon, the guy would have made a good spy. Like he could have done good work at UNIT, right? But Kate couldn't trust him.
Yeah, don't trust him. That was the note on her interview with him. Don't trust him.
Yeah. Now, he could have come to the CIA. We'll take him. Like, we don't have those kind of moral qualms.
Maybe the difference there is that it seems to largely be strong, intelligent women running UNIT. Between Kate and
yes,
I can't remember the amazing lady who's in the wheelchair. She's cool.
I am annoyed that I forgot her name. I'm gonna look it up.
She's been in a few. I've got the episode open on my IMDb here. Moira Clark, is that it? No, that's not her.
Is she farther down on the cast sheet? I think she's better than the boy, the kid science officer.
Oh yeah,
Shirley Bingham, played by Ruth
Shirley Bingham.
Madeley.
There you go. What a great name.
Yeah. If
Feels
they called
very
her
British.
Dr. Bingham, then it would be easy. But Shirley, I don't know why that's just sliding right out of my brain. But yeah, some good, strong women over there. It could be that simple. But yeah, I guess there are just some people that, if they're motivated enough, they can pretend for brief periods that they're like the best people. But eventually the mask comes off. Like when he finally got to take the mask off, he was so relieved. He was like, ugh, finally. Like,
Yeah.
having known some narcissists, like when they take the mask off, it's like that. It's like a burden being lifted. They could just be their shitty self.
Oh, and he complains about her talking about, you've talked, I had to listen to all your blah, 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 blah.
God damn.
And that's why this feels like such a betrayal. Like we've, not been able to really pinpoint another example where a companion's been betrayed so severely by someone who means the Doctor no good.
Yeah, Jessie and I were racking our brains yesterday trying to think of examples of where the companion was like grossly betrayed. And it was hard to find. Like, I think it just feels so bad they don't do it to us very often.
No, and we want to feel that the companion is protected by the Doctor.
Yeah.
And that, we just, but they're us. The companion is meant to be, is how we view it's how we put ourselves in the shoes of a character and we put ourselves into the show, right? Because you can't put yourself in the shoes of the Doctor. Is too fantastic, too magical, whereas the companion is kind of how we witness the experience, which is why when you get a new companion, it often starts from their perspective.
Yeah.
Generally does. Like Rose, Martha, that's all true. Donna's different, but that's production reasons, because they didn't know she was coming back as a permanent companion when they first had her in there.
I'm going to say what I think it is for me, what betrayal hits so hard in this case, is because we assume that somebody who's 25, 30, 35 has been through it before, right? There's cheaters, there's liars, there's phonies all around. Like, but for somebody who's 19, 20, this might be the first time this has ever been done to them. And it just feels so much more upsetting, especially if the actor is really good, like Millie. It feels like, it's like, ooh, my kid is being hurt by a bully. You know, it just feels like, or like somebody kicked my dog. You know, it's like, ugh.
It's that extra level of protection and care we feel.
Yeah.
Don't want to see them get hurt.
Oh God, I hope they don't hurt our new friends from from Lux.
Oh, leave them alone. They're sacrosanct.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Oh, I've thought of an example. It's not a real companion, but I think Osgood cops it. Like when the Zygon is standing over Osgood and being like, "Oh, you always that you don't live up to how pretty your sister is, and this is how you feel," and da 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 da. Before taking her inhaler, that I felt that in myself. I was so angry on her
Yeah.
behalf, and
I just had the craziest thought.
mm,
Zygons could imitate other Zygons. That could have been a whole entirely different Zygon pretending to be the friendly Zygon. I don't think it was, but man.
I think being in Osgood's head for as long as she did kind of brought her around, and the Doctor's logic in needing them to make peace.
Yeah.
Needing both of them, like the piece hinged on not knowing who was human and who was Zygon, right?
Yeah, that was a trip. What's that episode called?
It's the Zygon invasion.
Inversion?
The Zygon incursion. There's a few that kind of run along that kind of naming.
Zygon inversion, yeah. The first one is the Zygon invasion.
That's why I always get them confused, which one's which.
Cool.
They're falling in love, and we're loving it.
Yes.
And Ruby's mum's loving it, and her other mum's loving it.
Ooh.
And there's a photo of them on the fridge.
We can't skip this part where she says, "Oh, there's some trolls online that say that aliens aren't real and that UNIT is phony." And he just poker faces right through that.
I did have a note for that as well. It's some trolls online. He is the trolls online.
It's disgusting. Oh, I
I just had a.
please.
I wonder if it's the same thought. That how he does it. He's got two logins. Like he's got his persona of this podcast where it's all a part of the big plan, but his think tank persona, like if you think of them as like a group, kind of like Anonymous, they would.
Oh, like in V for Vendetta, like he just wears a mask and he's behind the shadows. He has an avatar online.
Exactly. So it's bringing the two together is when that's why he's playing the long game to get Ruby and then to get UNIT in the area.
Wow.
I reckon that's it. I reckon he's got, he's more than one account, right? He's catfishing the world.
I asked, do you think this guy ever gets turned down for a date? Like he's just way too pretty.
Well, he plays Prince Eric in the live-action Little Mermaid, and arguably Prince Eric is the best looking of all the Disney princes. Got to toss up between Eric or Aladdin, surely. As far as you find cartoons attractive. But he's so pretty, and that also, Lynn, all you think, oh, she's real pretty, she's real cute, they're gonna get together, they're gonna have beautiful babies, it's gonna be lovely, they're gonna have multiple grandmothers. It's I loved how much the mums were into it. And we got to see a bit of a mum, the birth mum, hanging out with her adoptive
Yeah.
mum, and the ultimate Cherry Sunday, the grandmother. My favorite bit with all of them was when Cherry Sunday's spying on Conrad's Facebook, his Instagram or something, and then
Yes.
her mum Carla pops her head in and she's like, "Oh, and if you scroll down, there's one where he's got his shirt off."
Let's see. She says the thing would wait. Oh, that's later. So I have this soundbite in the wrong spot. That's during the date. He asks her out for dinner. I thought the whole awkward handsome guy shtick is kind of like a reverse manic pixie dream girl. So this Hugh Grant, like, oh, I'm slightly clumsy, like, like it's like obviously you fuck all the time. You can't get enough of it. Like, why are you doing this shtick?
Hugh Grant's a really good comparison with that. Like, you see him as such a, particularly in those early 90s, Sense and Sensibility, Four Weddings and a Funeral, with his little floppy hair, and he's like, oh, I don't know how to express my feelings because I'm British and we don't do that. But and then you find out he's an absolute cad in real life.
He drops all his stuff. Like he's pulling all the moves. I want to steal all these moves. My God. So at coffee, she shows him the video of the monster. She she does this great thing where she tells how the shriek acts, and it kind of like the video plays along as if it's his imagination or hers.
Yes.
It'd wait till night. First thing you'd notice is the lights. The shriek's background radiation messes with electricity. Then it'd show itself. Just a glimpse. Just enough to get your heart racing. It'd have you trapped. Take its time breaking in. Enjoys the hunt. Feeds off fear. Wants you scared and running. Pumping with adrenaline. Why? Because it likes the taste.
That was a brilliant directing choice. I really enjoyed that because she's like, is it happening right now? Surely they're commenting on it, and then snap back. They're back in the coffee shop. Oh, I just had another thought. We're not sure, like, why does she turn up and go on his podcast? Because the night before they've caught the shriek, and she needs to give him the antidote.
Still, though, you'd think they'd do some vetting.
Not if it's all done under completely different. Although you'd think UNIT would have the technology to.
Maybe she didn't even check with UNIT. The doctor told her, but she hasn't seen the doctor in a while. I feel like UNIT dropped the ball on this one, which, can I say, I've got a few notes along the way where I'm like, I think UNIT maybe did make a few bad decisions along the way.
Not the first time.
And missing him was one of them. Mom and Gran are super cute. That was my only note for that scene where they're scrolling Facebook.
That was the best. I've got like Cherry Sunday with like 5 exclamation points.
She's amazing.
The only missing thing was she didn't ask for anyone to make her a cup of tea, which I was waiting
she must
for.
have had one. I love.
And she was up out of bed.
Right as Ruby leaves, Carla does this like, oh, face, like like she's loving whatever's happening in this scene, and Cherry like goes right back to scrolling. She's like, oh yeah,
They're so excited. They make the comment, she hasn't mentioned the doctor in weeks.
Oh yes.
I think they've been really worried about her. So, even though she made the call to stay and be and get to know her family and, integrate her birth mum into her family, um, that was still a really hard choice for her. And I think she had a lot of grieving to do. And Kate comes up with Kate as well. Like, how much is this affecting you? The time, spending all that time with the doctor and then now having to come back to a normal-ish life, even if it's with a job with the unit.
So I wrote this note here, and I feel like it's too harsh. But I wrote, never trust someone that acts like they're crying, but their eyes don't at least mist over. But, I mean, a lot of people are cut off from their emotions. So I don't know if that's fair. But on my second watch, I was like, he's not crying. He's not feeling any of this. Why am I buying this? But it slipped right past me the first time. So I can't tell if I'm projecting something onto it, his performance, with my end episode knowledge, or you know what I mean? But this is the way with narcissists and sociopaths and things. You're constantly second guessing your own intuition and your ability to suss people out. So you look for these kind of things, like, if his mom really died, is he that broken up over it?
I think it's something we do more as autistic people.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
Because we don't have that, I guess, intuition. I have a thing where I just take people on face value for what they're saying to me, and it's screwed me over so many times that you kind of then learn and go, well, what kind of game is this neurotypical playing? Do they mean what they're saying, or is there an agenda? And kind of having to come to terms with that, we look for it more, I think, as a method of self-defense.
Yeah, people with marginalized mental situations like us, I can't decide if it's like, are we just extra gullible, or is the fact that we were gullible early and got taken advantage of by predators made us highly, like, sensitive? It's like, where does this stuff come from?
I think it's probably a little from column A, a little from column B, really. We want, for me, I take, because I just can't, I can't not be honest, to my detriment, plenty.
Yeah.
But it's just my brain won't do it. I feel sick in my stomach if I lie. I can't do it, so I'm honest even to the point where I shouldn't be. But then I also take everything anyone says to me on immediate face value. And that isn't always safe. And yeah. But I think there's also some performance, like you talked to go back to your point about like the crying and not trusting someone who isn't at least misting over. I wonder if there's like some performative nature to it in masking as well. Like, this is the expected reaction here, so I'm going to do that. And I have no doubt narcissists mask for more nefarious purposes, but it's...
Yeah. I mean, it's like acting isn't evil. It's a kind of power that you can use for good or ill. Like, for those of us who are targeted for abuse by normals, like, it's a defense mechanism. But if you weaponize it to,
achieve,
commit espionage or whatever, it's less.
Yeah,
it's more bad.
Absolutely. But I think, intention is everything though, right?
Yeah. So they
I'll
hold
forgive
hands.
a lot if it's well intentioned.
She says her friends all think she's losing it.
he says, okay, so he said he doesn't think she's having a breakdown. And I didn't like that. I don't know if I noticed it the first time. But, it's hard, again, it's hard to separate from when you first meet someone and you know, like, it's a vibe, you're feeling it. Sometimes you drift into fantasy land and you're like, oh, I can tell you're cool. Like, I can tell you're not having a breakdown, even though they just told you their friends think they're having a breakdown.
What is wishful thinking?
Wishful thinking, exactly. But in this case, it also looks a lot like love bombing in terms of you can do no wrong. Everything you do is great. You're awesome. Like,
I'm here to protect you.
It's a very difficult to tease out thing there. So yeah, the fam is stoked for Rubes to go on her fifth date. Grant says, "Careful out there." She just watched The Wicker Man, so
Yeah.
like, they didn't come right out and say it, but I'm like, oh, the white devil's out there in the country doing naughty stuff. Turns out it's true, but yeah,
She was
that's
right
what she
to
was
warn her.
expecting. There's this thing that happens in a Dark Tower book. I believe it's Wizard and Glass, where the locals in this country town just have a very terrible, evil ritual they get up to, and the whole book is like suspense leading to this moment. There's X-Files episodes about like evil cult out in the country.
Oh, it's
plenty
a
of
trope
Doctor
that
Who's.
gets and some Torchwoods as well. I mean, even like going into cinema like Hot Fuzz.
I don't know if I've seen
Simon
it.
Pegg, Nick Frost, Edgar Wright. It's part of the Cornetto trilogy, which is Shaun of the Dead,
Yeah.
Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. And Hot Fuzz, they were probably at the peak of their popularity for that. And that is very much a bit of a town all doing all sorts of creepy shit for the greater good. Another example, The Lottery. That
The Lottery.
film.
Yep. Shirley Jackson.
Not sure.
I think that's Shirley
That
Jackson.
kind of, we've just got to do this even the South Park Britney Spears episode.
I don't think I've seen it.
Oh, when they send Britney insane because they're waiting, they need to pick the new young beautiful it girl to sacrifice for a good harvest. And they send her so insane that she shoots her head off and spends the rest of the episode running around just as a like headless jaw.
Oh my god.
And this was all right at the peak of when, not even at the peak, it's at the beginning of when poor Brittany had her breakdown. It was just absolutely driven insane by the constant media attention, media scrutiny, and it turned out to be like planned so that she'd kill herself as a sacrifice for them to have a good harvest.
Incredible.
I love the work those guys do.
Yes.
South Park, not cultists.
Yeah. I wish I could think of the example. There's like an example that's like right on the tip of my brain. It was probably an X-Files episode.
There's a lot of that.
So it looks like they're in a relationship. They're kind of agreeing that they're in a relationship.
Well, they have the chat. They show them having the chat where she references that the family think they're in a relationship, and he's like, "You just said relationship," and
She
they pretty
sees
much
a
agree.
sign, which is acting up.
Even before that, the sign wasn't the first clue. They walk past a taxi, and the lights are flickering in the taxi at the very beginning of that scene. I didn't pick up until the first time I watched it, I only picked it up at the sign because but when rewatching it, I was like, that taxi's got flickering lights as well.
Now, that's a red herring because this little right-wing cabal wouldn't know to control the electronic devices for their little
Well, she told him when they
trickery.
were on the date prior. This was the 5th date. On the first date, because
Oh,
it wasn't.
shit!
She
Sparky's
explained it to him.
Electrics. The guy's an electrician. So he's wired these things.
Of course he
Oh,
has.
scandalous.
Of course he has. The layers. The layers. This is so good.
Holy shit. Okay. This is exciting. So they're happy. They go to the bar, and I just have it paused at their table. And at first I was like, oh, they're all going to be white people. But there's a black woman at their booth next to Ruby. And I'm thinking, we talked about this as well offline. In this country, most right-wing movements don't have any people of color in them. Like, if you see the January 6th protests, you would be
Yes.
hard-pressed to find a person of color in that crowd. They exist, but they're often in positions of, like, public-facing. Like, look, we have one too, you know. Michelle Malkin and I don't know. They're often women, like prominent media figures. And then you have your just straight up evil. Who's the guy in the judge? Supreme Court justice. He never pays attention to anything. His wife helped plan January 6th.
Oh.
The pubic hair and the coke guy. Clarence Thomas.
Oh, yeah, I would not have known. There's a whole bunch of references there that have missed me.
Well,
But
anyway, these folks are generally despised by every Democrat, person on the left, and probably a lot of Republicans. Nobody likes them, right? The right keep them around because they like make them look normal, but yeah. No offense if you're out there and you're right wing and you're a person of color. This is not about you.
Yeah. More about the
Why are
public
you
opinion,
listening?
right? I would say it's different. Well, and this is what we discussed. I'd say those racial lines aren't as clearly drawn in the UK. I wonder if it's just having a population, like huge population in a tiny little space. But it's also, I think, a lot of the migration out of like the colonies, which once you get into like second generation, third generation, like one of the big anomalies with Brexit that was unexpected that resulted in it was the immigrant vote. So first and second generation people who've copped all the racism, copped all the what are you doing here's, and they almost like it's kind of like pulling the ladder up behind them. It's like, I'm in now, so I want to close the door to anyone else, which I don't understand. But it is absolutely a thing there. There was a really big immigrant voting bloc in Brexit that voted leave because of the way the media, so tying back into the episode, because of the hate spewing that the media and the way they tricked the public. There's a whole movie, TV series about it, mini-series, that they absolutely just blatantly lied to the public to get this leave vote over the line. And it was a lot of these people that were tricked into it.
Yeah, they spent a ton of money, didn't they, in the media?
Huge amounts, spreading lies, which they've then been absolutely taken to court for, and have been, you know, there's been attempted repercussions, but the problem is the vote's already happened. UK's out of the EU. Like, as a British passport holder, I found this particularly annoying because I was just about to relocate to Croatia, and
Shocking. Ugh.
like it was pretty bad. So I think those lines aren't as clearly drawn. But again, UK got rid of like they didn't have the same history with like slavery that the US has.
Yeah, they ended it a lot earlier.
Oh, like a century earlier. It's like a long time.
Yeah.
And also the that whole, I would just say there's a greater diversity over a smaller space, and you've got people who have the rights because the way British passports work, like I got mine without ever setting foot in the UK because my dad's English. So
Oh.
there's a lot of different types of visas and stuff you can get as a part of the Commonwealth. And then there's backlash on those people, like you get a lot of migration. The number one food in the UK, I don't know if it still is, but there was a point where it changed from, like, the official food of the UK changed from fish to curry. Fish and chips to
Yeah, I
curry.
remember reading about that. Like their own food was pretty bland because spices were considered, I don't know,
Well, they didn't have
outre
them.
or something. Or yeah, I
Well,
guess they didn't have them.
spice.
And
Yeah, then we're going
so
into the history of the Spice Road. Like that's a deep dive podcast on its own. But
yeah. I do
it,
want to ask though, your dad being English, where was he from?
so he's from Newcastle, in the north. So you would even argue like it's probably more in common with Scotland. I would say in the north of England than down south, as they call it. So kind of Jodie Whittaker territory, kind of like, have you ever heard of the show Geordie Shore?
Uh-uh.
It's British Jersey Shore, but it lasted a lot longer. That's set in Newcastle, but that's kind of ruined the reputation of my ancestors because that's not it's not who I am, but not certainly not who my dad was. But yeah, no, he's from Newcastle upon Tyne. Where the lads?
Have you been there often?
I spent a fair bit of time. So when I was backpacking, I was living at my friend's place in North Yorkshire. When I was having my downtime in between, and that's about an hour south of Newcastle. It's closer to the Scottish border than it is to London.
Yeah.
So the accent is stronger. It's got a lot more like cultural heritage in common with Scotland than perhaps down south.
Oh my God. There's a great book set in that area called Hild, Hild.
Okay.
Have you read it? I highly
No.
recommend it. It's set in the period where it's kind of Anglo-Saxon period where
Oh yeah.
like the king is sort of half
Pre-Norman
pagan,
invasion.
half Christian,
Yeah.
or like the Christians are trying to get him to convert. It's
Oh, there was a
pretty
lot of
good.
that going on around then. There's a reason Christmas is at Christmas is because it was to align with the reason Christianity decided to put Jesus' birthday on the 25th of December because it aligns with the winter solstice. And so I think it's Samhain. Is that one? I can't remember all the proper pagan names for it. But probably the only reference you could think of that's from near where my dad's from is Billy Elliot. If you've seen that.
Is that a chess playing person?
No, ballet. He grew up in a mining community and wanted to become a ballet dancer, and it amazing film, which then in turn has become an amazing stage musical.
Cool.
So yeah, it's what the interesting thing is with the UK. You've got such range of accents, cultural backgrounds, all that sort of stuff. In a teeny tiny island, which is smaller than the state of Australia I live in. It's
Incredible.
crazy.
Yeah, the British Empire was so vast, so they brought a lot of people back with them as well.
Which is why I think you're seeing that diversity, because you'll have a lot more that stuff isn't as recent where as it is like with America. You guys had segregation up until only what, late last century, midway through last century.
Yeah.
So you kind of couldn't have done that, I think, in the space of UK, which means eventually you get more people of color moving into that conservative mindset because it becomes less about it, and it's not necessarily indicative of socioeconomic divide. That being said, I don't think I've ever seen a picture of Eton College where I've seen a black kid there. So from that week.
Yeah. So Ruby and this redhead go to the bar, and I can't tease out what is normal and what isn't. She seems overly familiar to me, but it's their 5th date. She's getting to know his friends.
He's obviously been talking, there's a... And the other thing I observed was the music gives us no clue. Often you get a little bit of, like, you can have a bit of hint in the music that something's a bit skew-if, or that you need to be a bit suspicious. The music is, up until this point, all really light. Everyone's having a good time. I just thought we were having Monster of the Week with the Shriek to introduce Ruby's boyfriend.
Man.
No clue what was coming. Absolutely none.
So she goes out and calls unit. I guess because the lights flicker?
Yeah, the lights flicker. It's around, because the Shriek comes back once a year on the year from when they last kind of went on the hunt. They go out on the hunt once a year, she says earlier. And yeah, the lights flicker. And she's processing still. Like, she's really still processing leaving the doctor. Kate calls her on that. Absolutely calls her on that. She's like, have you thought maybe you're not moving on, you're not putting the effort into...
Oh, like she's being a little too paranoid? I'm sorry. Yeah. The Shriek is a dangerous fucking monster, and we don't know how many there are, right? I feel like I just need to bitch about Kate and Unit. Like, it's coming. I feel like it building. I'm going to wait on it. So Mel's
I
out
have
of the
some
country.
things to say.
Yeah, good. Kate's hanging out with Ibrahim at the tower.
How do we feel about that?
Well, workplace dynamics, it's not great. He's clearly her head of security.
He's still a subordinate.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's also a lonely life. Like, this gets covered in Torchwood. It's when you are working for, like, the organization that has all these secrets and stuff like that, you can't go home and share that with your partner, and it's very hard to have a partner when you have to keep those kind of, government and military secrets, to keep it from your partner at home behind closed doors, and creates distance. This is an overarching theme through Torchwood, but
yeah, I mean, Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart from the classic series, he had a wife that he couldn't tell anything to. It often seemed like he was flirting with other women, so like maybe he lived a double life. Like, it's
poor Kate. Her dad.
Yeah, I mean, people who work in intelligence, I don't know how they do it. I would hate it.
No.
I like to be authentic. I like to, not have to keep lies straight. Kate says, we have the Shriek. You should be fine. And yeah, she's being motherly. After the call, she goes and checks up on the Shriek. And sure enough, it's still in its cage.
Why did she say hello? I thought that was the dumbest thing. Like, Shriek's not going to talk back to you. Like, you could have just, like, she could have said other things, like, are you there? Something, her saying hello was weird to me. I mean, that just might be a me thing, but I found that really weird.
In the writing, or do you just mean a weird character choice for Kate Lethbridge Stewart?
Well, Schimmett's in the writing, but I don't think she. Yeah, like I think there could be a better word or a better phrase, like come out from hiding, something like hello feels like it's a friendly and friendly request for response, and like she's expecting it to like talk back to her, and we never see the Shriek talk. So
yeah, I feel like Kate is a complicated problem, if I may.
Please.
From the very beginning, she has not read as the leader of an elite paramilitary organization. She has felt like a competent administrator who's into science, but like at the snap of a finger, she can order 50 people to raid a house and kill a monster. Like, I feel like she's never really radiated the kind of power that the Brigadier did. And so I feel like she's always sort of like not quite there. But because that's her characterization, it makes sense for her to say hello to a monster. Like, that's just the sort of understated sort of, I don't know, slightly out of her depth character that they've given her.
She's a divisive figure, Kate Lethbridge Stewart. There are a huge spectrum of opinions about her online.
Yeah, and I can't tell whether it's the character, the writing of the character, or the actor. I mean, there's no way to separate the two.
She's also crossed over through multiple showrunners, and I think that creates a bit of... Usually you get... If you've got a recurring character, they kind of usually only occur under the umbrella of a particular showrunner. Like River Song's a great example of that, who only comes up in the Moffat era.
Yeah.
Whereas Kate's a weird one as well, because she's gone from being Kate Lethbridge Stewart to Kate Stewart to back to she's got the Lethbridge back again. But I know that's to do with the rights. They have to pay. They started just calling her Kate Stewart, so they didn't have to pay the person who created the character of the Brigadier. There's a lot of battles around this. The same thing, you know, all the fights they've had with the Terry Nation estate over the Daleks.
Yep.
And use of the Daleks, and so.
Well, so here I think they're drawing an effective contrast between her motherly side and her sort of, you know, posh business lady side, and when she goes a little too far. And she's great doing that, but I feel like she doesn't quite do the emotional, like, sort of reserved. I don't know. I think she's just better when she's losing her shit near the end.
Makes sense. Like, all my favorite scenes I'm just thinking back on with Kate are when she's kind of being ruthless, doing stuff the Doctor probably wouldn't be cool with.
Yeah. Interesting.
I thought it was, yeah. We'll get to that. What she does.
I guess I'd like to see this actor in a more traditional spy master role, so we can see if it's her or the character. You know what I mean? Like, if she can play a ball-busting badass who always gets results, right? Like, it'd be a little different than what we have in Kate.
That's true. It's true.
Anything else on Kate?
I'm very pro Kate. I really like her. But I do absolutely acknowledge I have a bias towards strong women in roles that, you know, previously probably would have only been given to men.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
I've got a lot of forgiveness just because they exist. I'm like, you're great because you're there, and I'll take it. I'll take my representation wherever I can.
I like it. She definitely is aspirational. The idea that a woman can lead such a powerful organization and still retain some kind of, like, more traditionally feminine aspects without being, like, assailed by everyone for being weak or something.
It's true.
So Colin is looking worried, and Conrad. Sorry, I called him Colin in my notes. So he's looking worried while she's out on the phone. And I was wondering if maybe he's afraid that the plan won't come off. That like this phone call needs to work, right? So and she's outside. It's sort of out of his hands.
I think I mean, he'd be right to be worried. Like, if I had been playing this long of a long game and you had everything set up, you had your mates outside in their costumes, you've got your electrician mate messing with the wiring, which they very clearly say he's disappeared. He disappears before the wiring, when the wiring really starts to go haywire at the pub.
Yeah. So Ruby admits that she has PTSD.
I think I'm in shock. Like, PTSD. Because what happened last year was just not normal. I mean, I fought gods. Like, actual gods. And I was eaten by a double bass. Kidnapped by goblins. I dangled on a rope ladder above London. And I watched the world turn to dust. And it's just like, every day is like fight or flight, and I'm just waiting for something to go wrong.
And he seems so loving. Like, this dude really nails it. And again, I feel like he missed his calling. He should be a spy somewhere, just not for UNIT.
There was a line he said to her, like, when he's trying to show her that he can protect her in the same way the Doctor did. Everything he was, I can be.
Ooh, now that is definitely in the love bombing area. That's like real adjacent to Nobody Understands You Like I Do, or we should hang out. Why are you always going out with your friends? You know?
Yeah.
Having had an abusive partner, I'm real sensitive to those.
Yeah, me too.
They're almost like boundary pokers. Like, if she notices I'm doing this, I'll pull back. You know, it's just like
testing the line, how much further can I actually push this gaslighting?
Yeah. Redhead says, "Tell us all about UNIT." And then the light goes out. Conrad goes off. The redhead looks suspiciously at Ruby. And then this lady comes in with her dog. She says, "There's something out there, like the devil himself. Biscuit got the fright of his life."
And we're worried about their friend now. He's like, because Conrad's gone off to the bathroom to check if Sparky's there.
Yeah.
Funny part, just a fun Australian fact. Sparky is slang down here for an electrician. That's what we would like. Absolutely. Okay. I work in the energy industry, and even in the corporate offices, we will refer to them as the Sparky.
Nice.
And a Chippy's a carpenter.
Cool. There's a shriek outside. Holy shit. Maybe there's two of them? Conrad comes back and he tells her he didn't take the antidote. And she is fucking rip shit.
Oh, so mad. It's just an it's the first indicator that we kind of get that he doesn't trust her. But he kind of plays it off like, well, the doctor wouldn't need to, so I'm not going to. And wanting to kind of step into this role and this was my interpretation before the first time. I was like, oh, he's trying to step into the role of the doctor in Ruby's life, and those are not shoes you can fill, buddy.
No. Absolutely not. If somebody you're dating tells you can't watch Doctor Who, they have to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
bright line.
I've got there's a bunch of lines like that. Like, basically, you can tell me what I'm watching. Like, No.
No, absolutely not.
The right person wouldn't tell you not to watch Doctor Who.
Yeah, so when he said I wanted to be brave like the Doctor, I wrote utter twat.
I wrote,
And there's a
I hate
moment
him so much.
there's a moment where it looks like he's trying not to break, right? Which I only noticed the second time. Right at the end of the edit, it's almost like he's like an actor might be at the end of a scene, like, ha ha, something funny happened. Whereas he knows something funny's happening. Ruby calls unit again, comes back in and starts giving orders to the townsfolk. Some guy's like, hey, love, who put you in charge? And she's like, or go and get some fresh air, big man. See what happens.
Everyone, just stay inside. Call your friends, your family, and just tell them to stay indoors, all right?
Sorry, love. Who put you in charge?
Oh, go and get some fresh air, big man. See what happens.
I liked that.
Oh, I love when companions take charge.
And they don't need to save everyone. It's like, well, I'm not going to waste my time trying to convince you something weird's going on here. You're either going to listen to me or you're going to go get eaten by the Shriek. Up to you.
Yeah, that's the thing in any disaster situation or horror situation. Leaders will rise to the top. And if you complain about why one person is the leader, it's because you didn't get it done, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's see. She tells Conrad he has to stay inside because they're hunting him. So she heads out to deal with it. There's this sparking red phone booth. And then Conrad shows up and begs to be a part of it. I think he has a cricket bat.
He does have a cricket bat. That is a cricket bat. You could, yeah, absolutely take someone out with one of those. Where's he gotten the cricket bat from, though?
I think that pub has sports memorabilia or something.
I think, though, yeah, I suppose it's probably like a Weatherspoons. Anything could be on the wall.
Yeah, and she's got what looks like a fire poker.
Yeah,
it
is.
made me think for a second maybe she knows some lore about shrieks that they can be hurt by steel or something. Or cold iron.
I think she's just going out to defend. That was just kind of
Yeah.
the available weapon.
Yeah, she's like, what the hell are you doing? And he goes, look, we're a team, like you and the doctor. He shows her his little coin. I don't know why that would have any significance for her. She wasn't there when he got it. It was Belinda.
It was Belinda. Maybe he's told her. Maybe he's told her the story.
Yeah, he's probably told her, yeah. He might have in the show and I missed it.
No, I don't think we see him telling her, but we definitely, we see him referencing meeting her on the pod, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Meeting him on the pod. And why he's been chasing this blue box.
So they find Sparky's hat and a shoe, and Conrad's all despairing. Creature pops up on a car. They start running. And I didn't notice it before, but the costume is slightly rubbery looking in this.
It is.
At first I
compared to
thought
the
it was
actual.
exactly the same, but it's a little stiffer. It doesn't have all the CGI movements.
Well, I think as Doctor Who fans, we're very used to just making an automatic adjustment for a fake looking suit.
Yeah. We're like, oh yeah, that's the thing. That's what we get.
Kind of being able to, you just go, were they running out of production money on that one? Ooh.
So unit lands, Shirley and Ibrahim and Kate, they all stride up. Oh, they've got this guy Jordan Lang with them that we got a little footage of earlier. Soldiers pointing guns, and the monsters stand up and remove their masks.
It takes a lot to really get me in shows, and that one, I did not see that coming.
Me neither.
It's such a, when you realize when the penny drops, like you have the penny in the air moment and then the penny drops. You stomach, I don't know, but my stomach dropped with it. I was like, oh, we're going here. We're actually
Yeah.
going here.
The camera passes past Ruby into his face. The redhead's on the right, like using her cell phone camera and smiling. And then he tilts his head to one side and he's like, oh, yeah, fellas, you did it. Nailed it, he says. And she is just tripping. Ugh, this guy's so disgusting.
Oh, he's awful. I have another note. Unnecessary cruelty.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah,
what?
like I said, these people, when they have to keep a lid under it, when they get to finally take the mask off, it's like it feels good for them. And so they just exult in it.
Well, he's obviously patting himself on the back, feeling like he was so clever. He's outsmarted Unit. He's, you know, I've had to put up with your blah, blah, blah. This is where he reminded me of Lance.
Oh, yes, from
Runaway Bride, where he makes all that, he does that whole speech about how dumb Donna is. You know, I've got to be here and listen to you talk about celebrities, a woman who can't even find Germany on a map. And I think we get a similar speech from Conrad here. Like, all your complaint, you know, all your
tedious piano solos.
Oh,
it has
that.
been a chore getting to know you.
Yeah, they didn't need to do that. He could have achieved everything he was trying to achieve with the think tank without those personal jabs at Ruby.
Yes. How different would this episode be if he just went over to her and said, look, this was never about you and me. I had a job to do. I'm sorry, you know, I had to use you. Like, it would be a very different vibe, but instead they're making the point, which is these guys don't work on two levels. Like, they are trash all the way down.
Trashbags all over.
God.
Yes, my notes get a bit sweary from this point on.
Yeah, this is where in my first rewatch, I had to stop watching it and message Jessie and go like, I need to be done. Oh, shit.
This was the point I reached. So my moment when my first watch through was the same day as the Australian election, and I could have watched it before I went out to my election party. And I was so grateful that I didn't, because at least I could come home and know we weren't letting ourselves in for 3 years of ultra-conservatism. And if I'd watched this post with the election having gone a different way or without knowing the result,
oof, too much.
I don't know if I would have been okay.
Wow.
Break required, much like you. Like, I totally get needing a timeout in a rough moment to decompress.
So Conrad's like, what, you don't remember me? I applied to join Unit. What's he saying here? Hiding in your tower and doing what, huh? Ruby's like, protecting people like you. And he says, oh, they can't stop lying. So here's my problem. In classic Doctor Who, Unit had their headquarters in a sort of manor house in the country. Unit in this universe, big fucking tower in the middle of London with the Unit symbol on the side. Of course they're going to attract this kind of bullshit. It's
That's
hubris.
only a modern thing for Unit as well, though. That only came in with, I think, only this era.
But if we're speaking canonically, in the world of Doctor Who, right, Kate Stewart is responsible for that, right? Unless there's some invisible board or
What's after they
UN
got
board
shut
of
down?
governors.
So in the era of the first RTD era, the Moffat era, Unit was at the Tower of London, where the Black Archive is.
They shouldn't be in the city because
Then they
everybody will
got
be
shut
like, there's a
down.
target.
They got shut down in the Jodie era. That comes up. Jodie mentions Unit no more. Kate's working during Flux. They run into Kate, who's basically just kind of rebuilding it from nothing after it's been completely defunded. And so then when it comes back in the second RTD era, they've kind of gone public. They've kind of accepted that this is, because there was still a bit of a secret organisation working out of the Tower of London, right, or Scotland Yard.
I mean, here's the thing. In our country, at least, they would have made a public bureau of alien communications, maybe. And Unit would have stayed in the shadows in the country, but by making it this giant public fuck you helipad, it's just going to attract this kind of attention. And I think it was a terrible, terrible decision.
I agree. I don't think they should be in the tower the way they are, and I've similar thoughts where it's like branded on the side, like you don't get. Like maybe
it's
they were
dangerous.
trying to create.
It's like putting a nuclear cooling tower in the middle of the city. Like it's just you're a target for terrorism. Like what are you doing? Like put it somewhere where there are fewer people. Like we saw it during the Sutek bullshit from last season. Like the town was just bedlam. I mean, it would have been anyway because the dust was everywhere. But yeah, it's just too big a city to be parking something that obvious in the middle of. That's just my thought.
Well, maybe they were just trying to kind of give like Pentagon energy, maybe.
Yes.
Because that's a big, and resulted in being a target, right? But it's
part of this is different because they used to be a UN agency, and in modern Trek or New Who, for some reason,
United Nations
British.
asked them not to. That was a legitimate thing. Like when they brought it back, it had to be. They had to kind of rejig it, not kind of getting shit with the UN.
I just don't
That's when
like
they
they
became
could have
unified.
They could have made it international still. It didn't have to become this sort of weird quasi branch of the British military. I think it just changes the whole thing because, right, she says like if a dictator got a hold of this tech, it would be a disaster.
It's true.
But it's like, but you're clearly part of the British government, so you can't avoid that. Sooner or later, there's going to be a shitty prime minister that is like, all right, open the vault,
Well, they mention it in the episode that they do have autonomy from some sort of government intervention. I mean, it certainly applies to Torchwood. Torchwood were set up as a separate institution by Queen Victoria, but still.
Yeah.
I always thought having Torchwood and Unit were too much. Torchwood were more secretive, I guess. But again, they were located at a really major London landmark as well, Canary Wharf.
Yeah. So he's trying to go on about how Unit is all full of shit. He says the only monsters out here are Unit. There's no Yeti. There's no Sycorax. He holds up the mask. There's stooges and actors and special effects. And this is the stuff that Alex Jones got sued for saying that victims of mass shootings are crisis actors. It's like, it's a fun sci-fi idea that a government could be able to pull off something like that, but it just isn't possible. They're, there just isn't a competent apparatus of state that could cause that great a conspiracy. Like, aliens have been in London, right? Like, this guy should know better.
I mean, it's a recurring thing, though. The why does everyone just kind of get on with their life? Like, going right back to Rose, there's the like hoax, or maybe the aliens of London, at least. Anyway, whereas they initially think this is the moment where, you know, this is the first contact moment. But every single time, humanity just kind of goes, "Oh, it was just this. It was a hoax. It was." I mean, even Unit leads into it, right? In the 50th. We'll say it's Darren Brown again. And we'll send him a gift basket.
What's our cover story for this?
Darren Brown.
Again?
Oh, we sent him flowers.
Like,
Yeah.
so they're still under the kind of the illusion of it being like humanity not knowing that aliens exist, but I feel like in this newer era, it's kind of expected that people do know. Just too many things have happened.
I mean, we could call it a climate change narrative or a COVID narrative. It's the willful ignorance has always been one of the most damaging things that happen, for want of a better word, in politics, in social movements, is just the people that want to be like, that's not real. I'm not going to look into it. You know,
Yeah,
this guy somehow is making a movement out of that idiocy.
I think it applies. We've seen a lot of that. Like, I think it's partially a response to like maybe anti-vax sentiment through COVID. People's, you know, there's a thing we all knew was absolutely happening, and there was things you could do about it. But then all these people are just like, no, and yeah, they're being deliberately obtuse.
So Conrad gloats in Ruby's face. I wrote, being betrayed is so soul crushing. And do you think Ruby adequately sold this betrayal, like in her acting?
I feel like Verada Setu would have done it better.
That's
she'd
just
do
unfair.
everything better.
That lady is a big, big deal.
I'm obsessed. Absolutely obsessed.
He says, Ruby Sunday, is that even your name?
Yeah, like,
I mean, what?
I think that may be what prompted my unnecessary cruelty note.
I mean, like, well, if somebody said that to me, I'd just be like, well, that's a dumb thing to say. But, like, she was a foundling dropped on the doorstep of a church on Ruby Road. Like, it's a huge part of her whole deal. You know what I mean? It's kind of basically saying, like, you don't matter. I don't give a shit about you or your story. This was always a game to me.
Yeah, it's true.
Just brutal.
And then we find out that there's so many things that he's lied about and little details that absolutely did nothing to perpetuate his narrative, like the dead mum.
Right.
He lied about his mum dying.
Just to draw her in, right? That was the only reason for that.
And it's not like it's not like it's a shared experience for them. Her mum's not dead. She's got two mums.
No, it was just a way to give him some personality. Because like most of these really bad people, he doesn't have a lot of personality. He's got his looks. No. He's got money. He's got his smile, you know, like it's all external.
Yeah, very very bland and obnoxious. But that's part of it, right? You don't expect it from him.
Yeah. So we have the return of Trinity Wells, right? Isn't that who that
Iconic.
is?
Trinity
this reporter?
Wells.
And she's saying some right-wing media bullshit. She drops the fascism word, which I rarely hear conservatives use because it's like them a lot of the times. But then I Googled it, and apparently, at least as early as 2 years ago, Trump was using it about Democrats. So, I don't know. It seems like an advanced level propaganda move.
I think it also plays on people not really understanding fascism.
Yeah, they think it's authoritarianism when really it's much more disturbing than that.
Mm-hmm. And that's when he starts going all out, right? Like doxing everyone that works at UNIT.
Oh, that is fucked up. Full of intelligence agents who could be compromised by I don't know, people that they're undercover with, like undercover agents being named is a bad thing.
I mean that, but just setting the crazed mob. Like the way people can get, if they get themselves worked up into enough of a tizzy to be able to go after someone in their home and after someone in their if you've got nothing else better to do, right?
Yeah, I mean there's so many people in the world now. Like there's always been like your Gavrilo Princips out there that'll shoot a president if they get worked up enough. But now there's way more of them, like there's the guy that killed an abortion doctor in the States, and he was whipped up by this kind of frenzy. And then you've got the example of the Hutus and their radio announcers like calling the Tutsis cockroaches and sending armed bands out to kill them. Like, it's extremely dangerous, this kind of shit.
It's actually like terrifying, and I think it builds off what we saw last week in The Well. Because the way they worked
the paranoia.
up, yeah, the paranoia, and I feel like it's kind of building and building and building into something with over these last couple of seasons, like even with going back to like the Power of the Doctor. Where is it the Power of the Doctor where they're all no, it's the Giggle. When all of like the toy maker makes everyone believe they're right.
Yes.
And humanity begins to collapse immediately. I have, it's like and I think that's what Comrade's trying to create, right? It's like an echo chamber of disinformation. So he's getting all this world where of course it's kind of validates all the horrible things he thinks and says. And people feed it them back in on each other.
So Conrad apparently has been craving attention. He didn't get a job at UNIT. His mom ignored him, so he's it's a grudge, according to Ruby, but it's also about like getting power. And that's when we find out his mom isn't actually dead. She has a nice house. He pays for it. 80,000 paid subscribers. That's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like even if it was just $1 a month, that would be $80,000. But he's clearly got a lot more than that. Like he could hire a staff. He could have fancy clothes. Like he could put together an op like this. Like those rubber suits can't have been cheap.
Especially with the glowing red eyes.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we don't have 80,000, but we have a number.
a nominal amount of listeners.
I mean, we love every number of you that there are. I'll punch in the number later when I find out what it is.
There are dozens of us. Dozens!
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. No, the I'm actually like completely side note, but I am really intrigued to see the difference with numbers on this new episode when people are still catching up, like these new episodes in this new season. People maybe haven't watched it versus Rose.
Oh,
Where
you
there's
mean
better
our
chance.
episodes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe Rose will spike the numbers a little bit. It definitely is. More people are. I mean, obviously, millions more would have seen it.
I'm just purely going on the feedback amongst my friendship group where there's people like, oh, well, when you're talking about something I've seen, sure.
Nice. Well,
Rather than
listener,
listen to
tell
us
us your
bang on.
favorite eps. I mean, we probably won't be going through them in order.
No.
I don't think we haven't talked about it. So, yeah, send us your favorite eps. We'll give them a taste.
I think you got to be able to pick and choose. I like the format of jumping around and having something a bit different. But anyway,
Yeah. So Ruby asks, what happens if your tech goes public?
What if your tech goes public?
Imagine what happens when a dictator gets access to a time window or transduction drive. Our technology would tear the world apart.
oh, it sent me on a spiral of what would Donald Trump do if he got his hands on unit tech.
Not good.
No,
Our
not
technology would tear the world apart. Ugh, terrible. So our dickhead, Jordan Lang, opens the door to let Conrad in. So he's going up the stairs. They tase a guard. And I wrote, give me a break. Who's in charge of security here? Worf? I wrote, this is an unbelievable dereliction of duty. Maybe they should be shut down. And Harriet Arbinger would probably do a better job than Ibrahim.
Wow, you are mad at unit.
They fucked this all up.
Did Conrad get in your head?
How did they miss Jordan Lang? Like, he's a full-on right-wing nut, according to their data that she pulled up in seconds.
Yeah, the Blinks was just like, oh, here you go.
They didn't bother doing that when he got hired? Like, WTF? Why the face?
WTF? Why the face?
Surely there's got to be some kind of like processing, employment process and screening processes for unit, more than Kate just deciding who she has a gut feeling on who she trusts or not. Which is the only reason that Conrad didn't get the job at unit anyway, because if you're getting interviewed by the boss, you've made it like the head of the entire organization. I guarantee you.
Right.
You have been through at least 2 other interviews. At least 2.
Every level below her that sent him up should be fired. Or at least disciplined, transferred to a different department. Like, and then whoever kept Jordan Lang on, she says there's layers of bounced VPN, shadow accounts, false identities. But that doesn't account for personality profiles. Like, I don't know.
I got psychological testing before I started a job in a call center once.
Clearly theirs isn't good enough. They should yank out some of that alien tech and like run that on people. Because waiting until they do something bad is not a great plan. Again, if he hadn't, we wouldn't have an episode, but still, it's a little annoying.
And sometimes you've just got to have a MacGuffin, right? But
yeah. So Ibrahim's like, we got to deadlock this level. And she's like, no, let him come. And I got to admit, it's a bad idea, but I like her moxie. And this is where she really shines.
I love Kate.
So she tells him, like, don't point a gun at my people. He says, I don't take orders from traitors. And this is where I was like, see, if she was a UN person, this wouldn't be an issue. But because she's part of the British government, that's a legitimate claim, right? If she was working for a non-British power, that wouldn't make any sense. She's not a traitor. She has a higher calling. She cares about the world, not just Great Britain. But it puts her in this weird position where you could say that she is by keeping all this tech to herself. You know, I don't know. And then I go, but here comes the best moment in Kate Stewart history when she steps in front of Ruby and says, don't you dare put a gun at her.
Don't you dare point a gun at her.
Oh, so good. Like, after he's just spent ages hanging shit on Ruby for a good couple of minutes there, my note is Kate is boss.
Yes.
She's just a badass. And she's obviously got like this extra protective nature for Ruby. Not sure why. Like, why is she stepping? You know, what's the difference between her stepping, like him holding a gun, pointing a gun at Ruby, versus him pointing a gun at Shirley Bingham?
Right. She didn't step in front of Shirley. Now, of course, Shirley has like automatic weapons in her chair, so maybe
That's true. Ruby is the one least likely to be armed out of all of them.
Yeah.
Because she's traveled with the doctor, and we know how the doctor feels about guns.
So yeah, so either she has a soft spot for Ruby, or Ruby's unarmed, so she's got to protect her, or she's the companion, and that's what we want. We don't want anybody to shoot the companion.
Well, we're also really upset for Ruby in this moment because she's just been so severely betrayed.
Yeah, even here he's like, oh, go handle your invisible goblins. Like, even now, at this critical moment, he has to talk shit to Ruby.
Well, the line I have is, the grown-ups are talking.
Ugh. Eat a whole bag of dicks, buddy. My God.
And this is actually where he makes his greatest mistake. And it wasn't pointing the gun at Ruby. That's not the thing that sends Kate over the edge. The thing that sends Kate over the edge is when he bagged the Brigadier.
You think that was it?
Oh, she snapped. I reckon there was a full moment of snap of you don't you talk about my dead father who's now a Cyberman. Don't.
I know she definitely got mad, but I think her plan was to release the Shriek as soon as she decided to let him up. But maybe not. It makes her more calculating and less unhinged.
If it was the plan all along, or if it was the instinct of him talking about her dad.
Yeah, I mean, I love my dad, and I don't want anybody to talk shit about him, but that wouldn't make me unleash a dangerous monster on them, you know?
Or it's the straw that broke the camel's back. He's also doxed them all. He's also, like, been waging war against them in social media. And they're potentially going to lose their funding, right? Like, that comes up. They're like, we're going to get audited. This is what the result of this is going to be. If enough people put enough pressure on the Houses of Parliament, we will get audited and reviewed, and that's their point of concern. So, you know, they're obviously keeping stuff a secret, and I don't know, there's part of me that's like, is that okay? How much transparency is the right amount of transparency in this situation?
Yeah, it's tricky. Again, it's just weird tension by making them a British agency that, like, the Prime Minister and his cabinet should be the ones in control of the weapons and armor and armaments and everything. within their borders, like that's just how governments work. Nuclear weapons aren't in the hand of a separate agency.
The codes are, though, aren't they?
I don't know exactly how the codes work. I know the president has them, and also military commanders and things, but I don't think there's a separate system.
Because it comes up in Aliens of London, where they needed to prove malicious alien intent to get the nuclear codes from the UN. That was a whole thing. They were waiting. That's what the Slitheen were all hanging out waiting for the phone call for.
Oh, that was one of the least likeliest, most unrealistic things in that episode, is that the UN, one, has nuclear codes, and two, that any other country would give that to a British person. That's not how things work. Like, every country is sovereign and makes its own decisions with respect to weapons of mass destruction. So yeah, in that episode, we just have to take their word for it.
I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about who's got the authority over nuclear weaponry. I think if I did, I would never leave my bedroom.
Yeah. So there's a slight writing issue that I don't love here, where she says, and that gun is unit issue, so where's Jordan Lang? Jordan Lang didn't have a gun. That was from a nameless guard that we never got to meet.
That bothered me as well. I noted. I picked that up.
That's, I don't know. It was probably a draft they didn't fix when maybe the guard originally had his own name and backstory, and they, I don't know, wrote it out. She says, a man's life is hanging in the balance and you're not even sorry. Maybe you shot him. Or he was an actor. Or he never existed. Scandalous. I think that is the moment. Not calling her dad a coward, but suggesting that all the work her and all her people have done for the last 10 years or whatever was bullshit, and all those people they saved were made up.
Yeah.
That would drive me crazy.
All the work you put in, it's very... And it doesn't matter how many times he sees proof. Some degree of proof.
God, he says, where's your doctor? And she says, actually, I'm glad he's not here because he would have stopped me from doing this. Now, at this moment, once Shirley and Ruby and Ibrahim realize what she's doing, in a real organization, you'd be like, Kate, you cannot do that. That is not okay. But they do.
They say that.
But they wait until she's already done it. Do you know what I mean? Like, the monster is already out by the time they're like, you can't do this.
True. Question. Do you think she did the right thing?
No. However, I would have done it too. I think it's awesome.
I get it. I don't know where I land on this because he's so, my heart of hearts, I like to believe I'm a pacifist, but oh God, it was satisfying being like, all right, you've been denying it. Here we go. We're going to prove it to you. And we're going to prove it to you by putting your life at risk.
Yeah. I think it helps that we know that they know how to take down the Shriek, and they will if it looks like it's about to kill him. Maybe they've all taken the antidote. Like, some things are in place to protect people, but still, it's kind of like torturing a suspect. It's like not a great idea. Everybody looks bad.
But sometimes they do it anyway.
Well, it's the justification of the ends justify the means, and whether that applies.
Yeah. So it's definitely gives a new dimension to Kate, which is great. Anything to make her more real, I'm for it. I wrote, if UNIT really was a branch of the UK government, this act would get her fired.
Especially on camera. Like, that was the thing that really took me back. Like, they've, not only is he filming from the camera in his chest, but she said take the security footage and feed it directly live onto his socials while she does this absolutely horrific and inhumane thing.
Right. So if a writer came to me with this idea, right, I'd be like, well, technically this requires consequences. And we have these short seasons. Like, are they going to have parliamentary hearings on whether Kate should be replaced? Like, this is some, because one of the things that happens when we let a leader do really fucked up shit and get away with it is it sets a precedent that it can happen again. It can be done even worse. Like, Kate has access to all these devices that she could use to take over if she went bad. So, yeah, she's at the very least, she's risking her career for this. And so that's what made her seem unhinged rather than coldly calculating.
I think she's just snapped and is absolutely fed up with him. I have done things in my life that I regret, but because I was so angry and so frustrated that it would just, you make a choice in the moment and it's like, ooh, that wasn't my finest moment.
Once we get off the air, I'll tell you what I called my mom on Christmas once.
Ooh. Gossip, love it.
Oh, fuck. Regrets. I've had a few. So the Vlinks, I still can't figure this guy out. What is
I don't like the Vlinks.
Is he a
I'm over
robot?
it.
He has to evacuate and all the others stay there. I think he is
wired in.
He is vulnerable to the Shriek's powers because it can fuck with electrics. I think that's why he had to evacuate.
I don't know why we have the Vlinks. It
Sell toys?
Nothing. The only theory, and I hate that. Every time we've had zero explanation as to what the Vlinks is, what the Vlinks can do. It's kind of like Mr. Smith in the Sarah Jane Adventures, I guess.
He just doesn't get enough screen time to have a personality or to really understand why a computer couldn't just do his job.
Or really smart science officer.
Where he's from, like why he's helping. Yeah, maybe in the unit spinoff, War Between the Land and the Sea, we'll get a little more.
Oh yeah, that's probably why they're like laying groundwork for the relevance of this character in the spin-off series.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So there's this moment after the Vlinks evacuates. God, some of Kate's looks are just so like diabolical. She's like, big toothy grin.
She's got very sharp features as well, which really I think adds to that imagery. Like, she's got a very pointed nose, very like sharp cheekbones, pointed chin, very angular. Not a criticism, just works.
This is when Ruby and Shirley are like, we've got to get him out of here. Like, he's in danger. And Kate's like, no, let's see how this plays out.
Oh, Jesus. But they ADR'd Ruby saying we've got to get him out. Like, I think it was ADR because the camera pans and the line is done by the time it gets to Ruby. And Ruby just looks sort of like dumb and open-mouthed. Every time they do an ADR, like a loop-in line, I'm like, why did they do that? Who was that for? That's a little thing.
I mean, it could be as simple as, there was a noise. Like, well, why wouldn't you just take another take, though? Yeah.
So I wrote, I really wish Ruby had been saying, we have to help him. This is wrong. The whole time, rather than wait until he starts shooting.
Yeah, I think there's a real spectrum you can land on as to what you do in this scenario, depending on which person you were, what you do with your own ethics.
Yeah. He's shooting up the place. Now, I noticed he's got an underbarrel grenade launcher. He never tries to use it. Maybe it's not loaded.
Or one of his fake guns or fake weaponry, or...
Man, the Shriek looks badass when it's on top of the console. Oof. Gets right up close. Knocks him down.
Oh, yeah, those back ridges as you see it, like, kind of going behind things, and... It's a creepy looking monster, and you never left in any doubt that it's here for its hunt. That's its instinct. That's its core.
Yeah.
It's following what it's meant to do.
Conrad says, "Help me," and Kate says, "You told us it wasn't real."
Oh, so good. I love that bit.
Oh, God. What's behind your mask, Conrad? An angry little man who put the safety of this country at risk.
That was where I went, oh, Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson.
Like I again keep tying it back to Brexit, but it's just the absolute disregard for what's actually probably better. Individual agenda versus the well-being of all,
Yeah, and it goes beyond just misguided political values. It's like cruel and ridiculous and just blatantly wrong.
Absolutely.
Like, it seems a bit like an over-the-top portrayal. The actor who plays Conrad is really great, so it's more nuanced. But I mean, just the character as written is pretty ridiculous. But like, these motherfuckers exist. We had the guy with the buffalo horns on him that led the Q rebellion into Congress. Like, these maniacs are real, as much as we wish they weren't.
Yeah.
It's interesting that they chose a fear monster to be the baddie in this one, because Kate wants to put the fear of God into him. So it's like a perfect monster to, like, wield in that way.
Fear is the monster that results in so much of this stuff, right?
Yes.
I'm getting philosophical.
I mean, this fucking episode, we didn't even have like the theme song or the intros. Like, I decided this was just going to be about issues start to finish. There's going to be a lot of tangents.
And we did a whole lot of political chat right up front before we even got into the episode.
Yeah, it's this.
I thought that was going to be last week. Only because it was the election last week. I was very fully in politics, but this is so political. Doctor Who's always kind of, and I know a large chunk of the internet disagrees with me on this, but Doctor Who has always kind of touched on political hot button topics, but always a bit after. So there's space from it. Like, we didn't get Joy to the World which really kind of touches on some of the abhorrent things that went on during COVID. We didn't get that until 2024, and I even that felt almost too soon. This is going
It
on
was
right
for a
now.
lot of people, for sure. Joe Ford from A Hamster with a Blunt Pen Knife lost his mom during that time, I believe. Or maybe it was another podcaster. But yeah, more than one person I've heard speak about this was that it was a little too much, especially for like Joy to turn into a star and her mom's like, you know, all for it. Like it was an odd thing, but I bet for a lot of people it was very cathartic because like, yeah, these motherfuckers were blatantly partying when we were hiding in our homes, masks on, doing everything right. But yeah, Doctor Who has been political and overtly political from time to time, as far back as, I mean, any of their mining episodes. We talked about a couple last time, Fury from the Deep and the Macra Terror. I mean, The Enemy of the World was about a guy who uses lies to take over the world, like politically. Then you've got all of Pertwee, you know.
Yeah, that's very,
Green
very
Death.
heavily politically influenced, and I mean, it's just that's what I find ridiculous when people get sensitive about Doctor. Do you not know what the show is?
Oh, let's see. So I was writing here. I really wish Ruby had been saying we have to help him. This is wrong the whole time, rather than after he started shooting. I said that. Let me see. Oh, the thing with where he's like, "Oh, your special effects have gotten better," and it bites his arm. Was that necessary? Did that do something?
I found it satisfying. You think
it was
that
it was like in a 90s movie when like the kid punches the evil businessman at the end or whatever.
Yeah, and you think with this one with Conrad, I really thought that once he'd seen the real Shriek, and you know he was like begging for help, and you saw the fear in his eyes, and you're like, okay, he knows now. Cool. And literally, as soon as he was no longer under immediate threat, he just still laughs. He still laughs, and he still goes, you've got, great special effects, blah, 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 blah. It's like, you've literally just had it proved to you in real time, and you just are still choosing, and it really highlights that it's a choice that these people make. It's not that they're ignorant or they're naive in any way or they're wishing for something to be true that's not. They are being deliberately and willfully ignorant. And even in the face of absolute proof, I'm reminded of that footage of the woman calling out the judge over there about not knowing what intersex means, where she just continues to call him out, like, and then he just goes back on the party line, back on the party line, back on the party line, and he's obviously deliberately not allowing his own mind to be changed that intersex people exist. It's the same thing here. He's had the creature's literally holding him, is literally in his face, and he's the second later he was like, oh, ha 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 ha. These people are real, and it's happening, and that's the most terrifying bit about this whole episode, I think.
Yeah, it's the implications. Like it seems a bit heavy-handed that it's all this person and he is attacked and still pretends that it's not real. But he's standing in for a giant group of assholes that play into each other. Like one of them might be pulled out of that, but one just slots right into his place. So it's like, might as well have him represent all of them like that. Ruby on the helipad, kind of letting her emotions out, I thought was really good.
Yeah. She's got a lot of even more processing to do after this, right? Like, after leaving the doctor, she finally starts moving on. I just feel really sorry for her. I really do.
Kate comes over to talk to her, and Ruby's real nice about it, but I would be like, Kate, that was so fucked up. I don't think you're the one to talk about my feelings with. Like, I'm not sure. Maybe there's a unit counselor I could speak to, but like...
Yeah, surely well, she's got to go to companion therapy, the one that Graham runs.
Yeah.
I feel like they are more equipped to... I guess this is why it would have been good to have Mel here.
Yeah. Mel would not have allowed Kate to pull that shit. Like, Mel's too good. That's probably why they sent her away. Well, other than just production reasons. Paying Bonnie Tyler. Bonnie
Langford.
What the hell's her name?
Bonnie
Langford. Bonnie Tyler does holding out for a hero. Next, homeboy is in his cell. He's got this magic arm connector.
Is that what that was? I couldn't figure it out. It was like...
Yeah, I think it bit his arm clean off, and so they've
I
used some
thought it looked
alien
like
tech
it just
to
chomped on here. But you're probably right.
I think it came down on his forearm, and they've used this weird alien tech to like reattach them.
By the way, listeners, when I said chomped on here, I realized not great for an audio medium.
Yes.
I was referring to my upper arm.
Yes, the upper arm, yes. No, I think it got a little bit lower. But yeah, he's just in his cell. He's probably feeling self-righteous. It's hard to say.
I'd assume so. That seems to be his basic state, like his default position. That's the factory settings on this guy.
I would have much preferred if he was like crying and like in a fetal position on his mattress, but
twitching, rocking back and forwards.
He's not that guy. And the doctor does that cool thing where he materializes around a person. The doctor matches his energy. To me, this is like the doctor being as aggressive as he possibly can without making empty threats, you know? He's not going to punch the guy, but he's like, I'm going to tell it like it is. He reads him.
You see, I am fighting a battle on behalf of everyday people who just want to get through their day and feel safe and warm and fed. And then along comes this noise all day long, this relentless noise. Cowards like you, weaponizing lies, taking people's insecurity and fear and making it currency. You are exhausting. You stamp on the truth, choke our bandwidth and shred our patience, because the only strategy you have is to wear us down. But the thing is, Conrad, I have energy to burn and all the time in the universe.
What do you think? Like, I'm not sure how I feel about the doctor giving him the curse of the death date. It's out of character to me.
I bet we could find plenty of examples of the Doctor being shitty to someone who deserves it. But he's never told them how they're going to die before. That is definitely new.
It's the only other example of that occurring in something else that I can think of immediately is in Outlander. And the character that happens true is truly evil. And the character who does it is far more nuanced from being a good guy, or a good woman as she is. Whereas the Doctor, I think we have to hold to a moral standard because the show's taught us the Doctor holds themselves to a moral standard of some kind.
I think we've said more than once this season that the Doctor's getting too big for his britches. I think we are facing a Tennant situation here where he's pushing the boundaries of his own values or whatever. I think this is one of the times, like, you are playing with fire time-wise to tell somebody how they're going to die, because they're going to spend the rest of their life trying to avoid that fate, doing all kinds of damage to the timeline.
It's true. It's true. It does remind me of Descent at the end of Love and Monsters, where we've had this whole episode where there's barely any Doctor, barely any Rose, and then all of a sudden the TARDIS shows up and you think they're here to save Elton, and the Doctor comes out and is like, you're in trouble, and we think he's talking to the Absorbaloff, but it's Elton. And Rose comes out and smacks him across the face and goes, you upset my mother.
Yes.
And the Doctor seems quite happy to just walk off on Elton at this point. He's not there to save Elton. He's there so Rose can give him a telling off. And I think it's an example where the Doctor's kind of moral line gets like, it's like, no, you're not a hero. I'm just here so my friend can tell you off. I don't know. I don't like it when the Doctor acts out of character for what I hold in my heart.
Well, go back and watch the 6th Doctor. I think this current Doctor is channeling a little of that arrogant, fuck you, I'm not playing nice anymore kind of energy. But I like this, what he says, the world carries on, the world gets better. It's a nice sentiment. I think that's just Russell or Pete McTighe, like, saying to us, keep speaking up, keep fighting these guys, like, eventually we'll win.
I agree.
It may be wishful thinking, but it's all we got, you know?
If you can't see it, you can't be it.
Yeah. He says, you aren't even a footnote, just ashes on the wind. And he's right up in his face.
All with a smile as well, like that. Like, he's still got, like, that shooty energy.
I don't accept your reality, Doctor. I reject it. It's like the most impotent fucking response, but he says it with, like, the utmost gravity. Like, he just, it's like the giggle. Yeah, he's just convinced that he's right. And he's always performing.
Absolutely. My favorite line from the Doctor in the speech is, you are exhausting.
Yes. That's huge. I mean, that's half of their power, is the ability to wear us down.
And it's so part of it. Like, but then he also knows things that he doesn't. Like, he asks the Doctor, have you met Belinda Chandra? Have you even met Belinda Chandra yet?
I didn't like that. Yeah.
He met Belinda Chandra when he was a kid, and they introduced themselves to him.
But he doesn't know the Doctor's out of order. Like, why would he know? And why would he assume that the Doctor would have told Ruby about Belinda? Or, I mean, the other way around. Like, I don't know. It feels like a little bit of, it's a little too cute.
Yeah, I don't think it needed it. I don't
Yeah.
think it needed it.
I don't know why it's there. Was it something he said that the doctor didn't respond to, and that's why he said that?
Or is it so they can like place this moment along the Doctor's timeline for us?
Yeah. You've had plenty of friends. Have you met Belinda Chandra yet? Yeah, I don't get it. And then the last thing is Mrs. Flood is his prison warden, and she's going to let him out.
Yeah, this really puts a hole in my Mrs. Flood is an evil theory.
At the very least, she's messing with the timeline because the doctor said he would die in prison, and she's letting him out of prison. Now, maybe he'll be returned to prison at some point, but she's meddling like a certain meddling monk.
Well, that's not one I've that's been tossed around.
I
But
mean,
it could fit.
he showed up twice in the 60s. Like, the odds that we'll get him on the TV show are slim, I think.
What, Suchak only showed up once and we got Suchak?
It's a very good point. He was a guy in a chair and a dog.
Is having Mrs. Flood at the end of each and every episode overkill?
I don't mind it. I mean, it's like in Fringe where the last minute is a little bit of taste for the continuity storyline, you know, even though the rest of the episode was just an episode. It's like I wouldn't be surprised if Russell has to take more of a hand of the writing of the episode, he might weave it in a little more. But maybe he wanted Pete's episode to stand on its own, so he just tacked it on at the end.
It was kind of tacked onto the end of Lux as well. And in the set, like, she's kind of like got a permanent spot in the epilogue this season, whereas last season she would just turn up randomly throughout the episode and then turn back up. I don't know. I love not knowing. I'm almost not looking forward to finding out because I'll never be able to enjoy these episodes in the same way again, not knowing who Mrs. Flood is.
Okay, so next week is in Nigeria. She would stand out quite a bit. Not that there are no white people in Nigeria, but it would be, I don't know, unusual. And so I'm thinking maybe she will appear in a different spot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I thought we were getting well, this probably goes in predictions, but I thought we were getting a historical when I first started watching the next time on. But then a lot looked like a fair bit of spacey stuff happens too.
Oh, there's a giant spider. There was the gravity outside the room sucking everybody out. Yes, there was a Mavity situation. But also I noticed the guy had a modern watch. So I figured it must at least be the 20th century. Cool. It's I believe it's in the 60s because no, that's not right. I just read a little short story that's like a tie-in. What I Did on My Holidays. 1965, Lagos. It's like the first oil wells are going in.
Right.
So I assume it'll be set in the 60s, but no, but these guys have like modern t-shirts. Well, we'll find out. Maybe the 60s will play it. Maybe one of the characters was young in the 60s and is now an older gent.
We'll find out in 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Holy shit. Oh my God. Okay.
We've really time-stamped this episode now.
God. Oh man. This is exciting.
I know, because last week I didn't watch it till late because of election stuff, and my football game was on, whereas my football game doesn't start until a lot later, so I can spread out the day, have some Doctor Who, have some podcasting. Lovely.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, anything we didn't get to in your notes?
I mean, no, it's very... Even though I did more pages of notes this time than I have on any other episode, I think a lot of my notes are more speculative.
Oh, interesting. Speculative.
Like I'm more questioning rather than observing. Some of my earlier notes were very, this is what I'm seeing, and I want to make sure I bring up this point.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm theories behind theories behind theories. So I think we covered everything being the point.
Cool. Well, I would love to see more from Peter Hoare, the director. I think he's doing a great job. And
Done well here.
Pete McTighe acquitted himself excellently. I hope we get a little more Ruby. I don't know if we will this season, but it would be nice to at least...
it should turn up at the finale.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything we could do to get rid of these type of scumbags, but I guess every so often sci-fi has to remind us that there are people we should be fighting.
Yeah, it's... I mean, a guy like this
so
is just
exhausting.
the ultimate frustration. Like, it's... You're just never going to change their mind, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I was talking to a lady this week, and she was telling me that a friend from high school sent her this obscene, insane screed, like obscene morally. Like,
yeah.
It was like a list of all these lies from like about Obama and Michelle Obama, like all this stuff. And I was like, wait, one of the things in here is like, would be huge news if true. So I Googled it. Not true. It said President Obama is under house confinement. And I'm like, that is totally provable, right? Like, they're just telling their people straight up lies. Just not even just suppositions anymore, just bald-faced lies.
And the lack of input into like into actually wanting to believe, even when presented with irrefutable proof.
It doesn't matter anymore.
They'll just come up with some fake news, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting into Protocols of the Elders of Zion territory. Like, if people are willing to believe anything their cult leader tells them, like, it's a dark road.
Very dark road. Goes down that. Yeah, it's very dangerous. State of the world. What are we going to do?
I think we're going to end this episode.
Can't end it on that. Can't anything better than that. Go with that.
Thanks for listening to The Great and Secret Knowledge, a speculative fiction podcast. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jessie. Thanks for listening. Hope you had a wonderful time. Listen to our episode on Rose.
Yes. Tell your friends. Email us, greatandsecretknowledge@gmail.com. Follow me on all the socials at El Jefe Tacoma.
Me at Cosmic Cowgirl with a K.
And that'll do it.
Everyone, just stay inside, call your friends, your family, and just tell them to stay indoors, alright?
Sorry, love. Who put you in charge?
Oh, go and get some fresh air, big man, see what happens.
A huge thanks to James Lark of jameslark.co.uk for providing our wonderful theme song. Thank you, James.
I'm hip. I surf the web. I text. LOL. I know all the dances to High School Musical, so